Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. I was just watching earlier. I watched a bunch of weird pop culture YouTube videos, and that's how many people start their videos. So I thought maybe I should do that too. Like, yo, everybody, what's up? And yeah, anyway.
Yeah, they're all trying to see. It's like they're admitting that their information is not impressive enough. They have to really act like this. And hey, what's up, everyone? Glad you're all here with me. We have got a great show because we're bringing it hot. We're bringing the heat. We're bringing straight fire. It's going to be raining down sulfur and brimstone on you morons with this great show we've got. Now we're here to talk about this news story that just came out. Oh man, it's like everyone.
Yeah. And that's it. Am I? Oh, I think you're a little bit quiet, are you? Is everybody? Is David and I at the same volume, or is David and I different?
Check. You need to learn proper English. Check.
Is you loud enough? Wait a minute. Here.
I have not tested this microphone before.
Oh yeah, this is AP, which stands for anti-pedophile today. And here's just one comment to start with. It says in Turkish, who will you vote for? Very important stuff tomorrow or today in Turkey time are the elections for president and the general elections, which is it's like one of the most important elections in Turkey ever, where the Islamist government that has ruled for 20 years now built a coalition of two other nationalist and Islamist parties and will go against a huge coalition bigger than ever of secular parties, nationalist parties, liberal conservative parties. They all came together because they all have just one goal: to get rid of this government before everything goes to dirt. And if the Islamists win again, if Erdogan wins again, people fear that Turkey will descend into a full-blown Islamist government. Whereas if the secular coalition wins, then they can finally put an end to what's been going on. And the odds currently are that the secularists will actually win and defeat Erdogan and put an end to over 20 years of increasingly authoritarian Islamist rule. So that's extremely important right now. With that said, I don't think I will not be voting. I can vote. Turkish citizens outside of Turkey can vote by going to a consulate or an embassy, but I gave up on Turkey when I was in Turkey, and I haven't changed my mind on that. So
two things. One, they would lock you up as soon as you went into a Turkish embassy. And two, we literally just 2 minutes ago, we're talking about how people talk about boring topics on their shows. So they have to do all this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, blah, blah, blah. And then you immediately start talking about the election in Turkey.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Which is about as exciting as rearranging my sock drawer.
Or reading a phone book, yeah.
Or reading the Quran.
Oh yeah. That I don't know if I agree with that. That's incredibly boring. I haven't seen anything more boring in the world so far. But yeah, so that's what's going on. With that topic out of the way, we want to talk today about an individual whom everybody knows and who is incredibly relevant, and a thinker of our time, SNEAKO. David, what do you know about SNEAKO?
He's the Robin to Andrew Tate's new superhero team rescuing Islam from the avalanche of apostasy.
Yeah, I actually talked about SNEAKO like a year ago or so when at first there was a scandal. Like SNEAKO was a streamer back then on YouTube, and he was kind of popular. And there was
now I'm confused on the terminology. Streamer. Do you mean live streamer like we do, or like does that mean the gamers?
I'm not entirely sure about the gaming. I think he was. I mean, he was part of the whole, the younger people. I'm not sure if he did gaming as well, but entertainment videos mainly. And he was doing live streams on YouTube. one of those people who would just make live streams and talk about entertaining stuff, and then the videos get clipped and posted and stuff like that. And he was in the young pop culture on YouTube. I'm not exactly sure what exactly he used to be very honest. But so last year he made fun of the Muslim prayer, and also played a sound bite, which he still plays on his streams, which goes like Allahu Akbar, and Muslims were very upset by that, very offended, and the three Muslims invited him and kind of reprimanded him for that, and he apologized for offending so many Muslims and all of that. And later on, he became increasingly one of the Red Pill gang, and became like totally attached to Andrew Tate, which is why people started calling him the discount Andrew Tate, because he says and does whatever Andrew Tate does. And eventually he started going more and more into the anti-Jewish neo-Nazi direction. Then he was banned from YouTube, and then he became increasingly radical and connected with Milo and Nick Fuentes and Kanye, after Kanye started praising Hitler and Nazis, and saying that Jews are demonic and stuff like that. And yeah, now he is on Rumble, and he's pretty messed up, and he became closer to Islam. One of the things that he likes about Islam is the Islamic stance on Jews and on women and society and all of that, and he converted to Islam. And today we want to talk about his reasons while we go through different clips.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, this is even true of some of the da'is like Daniel Hakikachu. If you listen to Daniel Hakikachu, it doesn't sound like, hey, here's all this evidence that convinced me that Islam is true. It sounds like, hey, there's all this stuff that's freaking me out right now, and I'm going to latch on to Islam because I think it has the best chance of saving me from all this stuff that's freaking me out right now.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Andrew Tate sounds like. Although it's really weird coming from Tate, because he's a webcam pimp. So for him to be saying, "Oh, I'm really concerned about what modern society is doing to men and women, and I have to do something about this," when wait, your goal is to make women your webcam girls, and so why in the name of common sense should we take anything you're saying seriously? And then SNEAKO. I'm only familiar with SNEAKO based on the couple of clips you just said we'd be watching, and I watched part of them. But he seems similar. He seems very similar in the sense that he doesn't seem to know anything about Islam. Like Tate has never once seemed to understand anything about Islam, except for like killing cartoonists and things like that. And SNEAKO seems the same. It's I'm freaked out because women are out of control, and Islam will help us bring women back under our total control. And that's what it seems like.
I saw a similar sentiment earlier today. Actually, it was the first thing I saw when I opened Twitter. There was this woman who hangs around with these red pill and neo-Nazi types, and she was like, "I'm a Christian, but I have to admit that Muslims have their women in check." And people liked it. And I thought, man, this is just the way things are descending on the right into a weird, paradoxical madness.
It's interesting though, because Islam is like, I mean, my goodness, it reminds me of what Bruce Lee said when he said, "Be like water." Said it's be like water because it can fit into any container and things like that, and it's malleable. It adapts to whatever situation it finds itself in. But if you have an entire religion, it's like Islam's been doing that for 14 centuries. Like whatever the problem is, Islam is the solution, right? Like even if you go back 15 years, when people were concerned that women are being oppressed and not being given their rights and so on, then Muslim preachers are saying, what? Muhammad is the greatest feminist who ever lived. If you're worried about women being oppressed, convert to Islam, which liberates women, right? And it's like, whatever the situation is Islam just presents itself as the solution to the problem. So like, if aliens invaded the society, I mean, invaded the world next year, Islam would say, "Oh, we're the religion that will protect you from alien invasions. We're the only ones that can protect you from these aliens." And it's just, hey, what is every single year? It's, hey, what are people freaked out about? Oh, Islam is the solution, and it never has anything. It doesn't really have anything to do with what Islam teaches, because the whatever cure Islam has, it's worse than the disease. Whatever disease you're worried about, Islam is worse. The Islamic cure that it offers for whatever disease you're worried about, the cure is worse, ladies and gentlemen.
That was actually, I'm very surprised that you presented such a great take on how Islam handles.
It's a great Tate. We'll call it Tate now.
On how Islam tackles whatever is going on right now. That's a very good point, an exceptionally good point. Where you see Islam is like when women's rights are talked about, when people complain about how women's rights are in the world right now, Islam comes in and is like, Islam cares so much about women. Islam brings women's rights. Islam values women so much. Then when people talk about how women are out of control, then Islam comes in and is like, Islam is the one religion that actually keeps women, in their place. And that is even during the whole COVID thing. They started talking about how Islam has a perfect way to deal with diseases and pandemics, and then presenting completely out of context, twisted things that Muhammad said about what to do when there is a plague or something like that. That's a very good point.
And I mean, and you could just look at it, right? I mean, politically, what has Islam been aligned with for a couple decades now? Like the extreme left, Wait a minute, how are you guys? If you guys are the solution to all this LGBTQ stuff, why are you aligned with the group that is the main champion of it? And it's just whatever is convenient at the time, that's what we do. So there was a time when the far left is more likely to protect Islam from criticism, more likely to protect Muhammad from criticism. And so, okay, we'll go with them, even though there's all this other stuff in here. We'll side with them because that's what's convenient. Now it's getting to the point where, we're more worried about this other stuff. So yeah. Now we're on this other side, and it's like it's weird. It's like they simultaneously want to be on the side of everyone and yet opposed to everyone. And it's just, I don't know. It's this weird situation.
That reminds me of a line from my favorite show, which you also like, which is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Max says, "I'm playing both sides so that I come out on top in the end." And that's just exactly what is being done here. There is another example that I wanted to give, but yeah, no, we basically get the point here, which is that Islam, no matter what is being said, always tries to offer itself as a solution, and thereby tries to win credibility and tries to win people over. The thing about Islam being aligned with the far left, by the way, is, I mean, that is true, but it's true in the West. So in Islamic countries, Islam is entirely, Muslims hate the left. The Islamists hate the left, and there is a huge war. But in the West, the often Muslims and Islamists have been aligned with the far left because that is what they considered beneficial. Because there was a long-lasting trend of the right being intolerant of Islamic ideas and Muslim ideas. So they started clinging themselves to the left, which they perceived as protective of foreign ideas and minorities. So they made use of that as much as they could. But of course things begin switching now, and now they switch with it just to be on top again. It is a very, very clear reflection of the opportunistic nature of Islam and Islamists. Yeah, and with that, I think we have already perfectly put everything, and it's time to end the stream right now. Yeah,
except for SNEAKO. What kind of dumb name is SNEAKO? Is that his real name, or that just?
No, it's actually, I looked it up earlier, and it's like his actual name is Nico or Nicholas, and for some reason he turned it into SNEAKO. No idea.
It might have been a nickname when he was growing up or something like that.
Maybe because he's a sneaky guy. I don't know. But we wanted to watch a few clips here of him explaining the brilliant reasons why he converted to Islam. I picked a few clips and a few timestamps from different videos in order to look at that, and we will do that right now. Are you ready, or is there anything else that you want to say before the action starts?
We are ready to be given the powerful argument. But by the way, before we get started on these clips, it's always interesting, and we've pointed this out before, that Muslims will simultaneously be pointing to SNEAKO. You say SNEAKO converted to Islam because of the power of Islam and all the brilliant evidence for Islam. As soon as we look at his reasons for converting and start making fun of them, they'll go, "Oh, he's just a brand new convert. Why are you refuting him? He doesn't know anything. How could you do such a thing? Why do?" It's like, wait a minute. Are we supposed to take his reasons seriously or not? If we're supposed to take his reasons for converting seriously, then obviously they're on the table for discussion. And if we're not supposed to, it's weird, but it reminds me of like the women that these guys hate is what's that little climate change girl, Greta Thunberg. Right? Yeah. It reminds me of Greta Thunberg saying, "Here are all these problems in the environment," and as soon as someone starts arguing with any point she's made, people go, "Oh, you're arguing with an autistic little girl." It's like, wait a minute, am I supposed to take her claims seriously or not? If I'm supposed to take her claims seriously, then I can analyze her claims and agree with them or disagree with them. If you're saying, hey, she's just this youngster who doesn't know anything and therefore don't criticize her, then okay, fine, but don't tell me to take her claims seriously. So guys, it's just a point. If you're saying, hey, so-and-so is saying this, and it's really important for our case, great. You've just put that person's claims on the table for discussion, and don't instantly come back as soon as we start disagreeing with something the person said, then put this person in some sort of compartment where that person's claims are immune to criticism. I'm fine with that. If you want to say, hey, so and so it doesn't know anything, don't listen to this person, he's too young or too dumb or something like that, that's fine, but don't point to that person as any sort of great achievement or great evidence for anything.
I've even seen people like the funny thing is when he first offended Muslims, many Muslims came out and were like, "Just ignore him. He's a stupid idiot, waste man. Don't listen to that guy." And as soon as he started getting interested in Islam, people are like, "Wow, he's very smart and obviously has a good heart." it's very easy and very funny how things switch very quickly. I do have to say that while I disagree with like the very extreme approach of people like Greta Thunberg, I have to say that at least that she has some intellectual value to the things that she presents, whereas SNEAKO doesn't. And I don't find out about that in a little bit.
I don't actually know anything about her except for the how dare you, right? I know that, and then I mean, my goodness, she massacred. Like I don't have any dog in that fight if it's Greta Thunberg versus Andrew Tate, but my goodness, she burnt him up. And it was hilarious for his followers to think that he burnt her up. That was like,
pretty.
What were you guys just watching?
That was pretty ruthless.
That makes me want to run out. I mean, she burned him so bad. That makes me want to go out and like protect the environment right now. I like go and like bring down fossil fuels because she burned him up so bad.
That's amazing. That's amazing. See how people change others' views by destroying and humiliating them.
You see?
Yeah, you see. So here's the first clip that I have come across where SNEAKO is actually on his own stream. The side here is blurred because this was apparently clipped and posted by a Muslim. I don't know. But let's listen to this very quickly. He's answering.
Is that a painting of him back in the background?
Where?
Over on the right, on the bottom. Is that a painting of him?
Oh, I think it is.
Oh, wait, is this another narcissist? Because I've noticed a pattern here. Have you noticed a pattern, AP, with the narcissist converting to Islam?
I have no idea what you're talking
about. The narcissists who are looking for a community that will back them no matter what they do, no matter how horrible their behavior is, will just support them as long as you just say, oh, and Islam is cool. Then they'll support whatever you say. And interesting.
That is very, I didn't even notice that. I don't pay attention to things in a room. And back there, yeah, okay. That is funny, man. That is funny. All right, let's see.
I was just pointing out why I resonate with Islam, why it makes sense for me, because I don't like, the idea that you worship a man. I believe that Jesus Christ was a prophet, and I believe that Jesus Christ was...
He doesn't like it, so that's one.
He doesn't like it, so I'm going to convert to a religion where everything is centered around one man.
Yeah.
Muhammad.
Well, he doesn't like it, so he made a very good point here.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. Some people don't like marrying child brides, beating women into submission. Some people don't like stuff like that. Okay, Islam's not for you. But I don't like the idea of God loving people so much that he entered creation for them. I don't like that idea. That's a stupid idea. The wife beating, okay, I get that. So I'll convert to this. Interesting.
I don't like praying 5 times a day. That's why I left Islam, by the way, and that's why I think Islam is false.
I don't like bowing down to a giant Borg cube. So I left Islam. Wait, what? I don't like. I mean, guys, notice what we're pointing out here. He's just saying I don't like this. Saying you don't like something isn't an argument, unless as a premise, you also have anything I don't like is false or something like that, right? Yeah. Unless you're going to include that, and that would be like the height of narcissism. Yeah. But he's just saying he doesn't like something, and he's saying therefore he converted. But if he were saying, if this were the same, if he had grown up as a Muslim and we're saying right now, I left Islam because I didn't like this. I didn't like not being able to. I didn't like not being able to drink. I didn't like not being able to have a ham sandwich. What would Muslims would be? Oh, they would say this is like complete nonsense, right? This how can you listen to this guy? Oh my goodness, how can you listen to this guy? These are stupid. You can't just let your feelings decide everything. But since he's doing it in the opposite direction, I didn't like this about Christianity. Therefore, I go to this religion that I obviously know nothing about. And suddenly he's absolutely brilliant to them.
David, be easy on the guy. We still have a lot of footage to watch. You already destroyed him. Let's let him talk, okay?
But I don't think that you should have him bloody as hell on a cross and like you pray to it. It's weird. It doesn't make sense to me to pray to a man. I don't want to submit to a man. The only person that we should submit to, that we should pray to, should be the one creator of the universe.
Whoa. He didn't want to submit to a man?
Which is why he converted to the religion where everyone has to obey Muhammad and do exactly as he says and never question him.
The Quran literally commands him to submit to Muhammad. I mean, literally commands him. I'll go ahead and read it. I'll go ahead and read it in the Halali Khan translation. But no, this is Surah 4, verse 65. Allah is talking to Muhammad. Allah says, but no, by your Lord, they can have no faith until they make you, Muhammad, judge in all disputes between them and find in themselves no resistance against your decisions and accept them with full submission. Full submission. Full submission to who? To Muhammad, to anything Muhammad says, to anything Muhammad decides. Notice, SNEAKO just said, I don't want to submit to a man. Therefore, I'm converting to a religion that tells me to submit to Allah. Okay, how do you submit to Allah? By submitting to a man. Like, okay, so notice, if we were to take his claim at all seriously, just say, okay, under no circumstances do I want to submit to a man. I just want to submit to God. Okay, then you need to be some sort of just generic monotheist and just say you're submitting to God. Why in the name of common sense? If your main objection to Christianity is, I don't want to submit to a man, who, by the way, is God in Christianity. Therefore, I just want to submit to a regular human being. Like, what? I don't want to submit to the incarnate, divine, all-powerful. I don't want to submit to the God who became incarnate as Jesus of Nazareth. I want to never submit to any man. Oh, okay. So I want to.
Here's another verse which says, it is not for a believing man or believing woman when Allah and his messenger have decided a matter that they should thereafter have any choice about their affair, and whoever disobeys Allah and his messenger has certainly strayed into clear error. I don't think Muhammad SNEAKO actually knows what Islam is and how it functions.
No, he really sounds like this could go 50-50 on, because there are people who theorize that these guys are being paid and so on. Yeah. And I know that's happened. I know that happens because I know multiple people who were offered that deal, offered the deal to convert in exchange for piles and piles of money. With that said, I don't know. It could just also be he's a Tate fanboy and knows nothing about Islam. But it's just interesting that these guys can't, after being asked for months and months, hey, why'd you convert? Why'd you convert? You still ask them, and they obviously do not know anything about Islam. Not like nothing. You converted to Islam and you don't realize that Islam requires you to submit to Muhammad, and you're listing as one of your criteria for the true religion that you will side with, that under no circumstances do you submit to a man?
I'm not sure if I'm nitpicking here, but it's also funny that he specifically, when talking about Christianity, mentions Catholic ideas of how, in practice, Jesus is worshipped. And I think we will see more of that. I think he used to be Catholic culturally.
Yeah, he said that. You sent me a clip. I mean, this was just like an hour and a half ago or whatever. But
right now, he even describes.
He's talking to a woman who's a Catholic.
Yeah, and right now he mentioned there Jesus bloody on a cross, and we worship him, or something like that.
Universe, and we love him for it. Perfect. That really, it makes the most sense to me. I don't want to say like Jesus is also God, and he's also a man, and there's the Holy Spirit, and Christ is God because he rose, so he's a man. It doesn't make sense. Muhammad, what I like about Islam and why it's haram.
What I like.
They don't even.
So I have to say one thing here. Now he says
what I like, what I don't like, what I like.
It doesn't
what
make
I don't
sense
like.
to him, and he doesn't like that in Christianity you worship a man, and you worship God, and you worship Holy Spirit, and it doesn't make sense to me. Now first, and he says what makes sense to him is to only worship the Creator of the universe. Therefore, he likes Islam. Now, first off, let us say that all of that is valid, and you do indeed only want to worship the Creator of the universe. That says nothing, absolutely nothing about why you converted to Islam or why Islam makes sense and why Islam is true. Nothing at all. You could come to the same conclusion and then look at Judaism, for which he has a very specific liking. You could look at different interpretations of Christianity if he doesn't like that specific accent because it doesn't make sense to him and he doesn't like it. He could become a deist. He could become a lot of things. Why Islam? You hear this stuff from Muslims a lot, and it doesn't go there. It doesn't connect properly. It simply doesn't make sense. Aside from that, I don't believe in the one God and Creator. I don't believe in the Trinity. But this guy here, when he sits down and says, it doesn't make sense to me, I don't like it, it is simply his way of not understanding the issue, of him finding it strange personally, and therefore saying, I don't, it doesn't make sense to me, I don't like it, therefore this. To me, maybe both of those things don't make sense, but one of them is not less logically sound than the other. There is no logic problem here. There is nothing. It's just this guy going through life and presenting a very shallow understanding of things and preferring whatever he personally likes and doesn't like.
Yeah, and I mean, he's displaying how completely clueless he is about everything he's talking about. So, hey, this God-man stuff where God enters creation and takes on a physical nature. Yeah, it sounds weird and confusing. So I'll convert to Islam. No, notice all the problems, right? He has a problem with it. You just pointed it out, right? If you're saying, hey, I don't want all this extra stuff, I just want to worship God. Okay, guys, that's called monotheism. That's not called Islam, right? Yeah. Islam is a package deal. You're taking the monotheism and a ton of other stuff, which it sounds like you just said you're against. You're against all the extra stuff. So now you're going to be bowing down to a pagan cube. You're going to be kissing a black stone. That's a requirement. You have to make the pilgrimage to go out there and kiss a black stone and walk around this pagan cube. You have to speak to Muhammad in your prayers. During your prayers, you have to speak directly to Muhammad. And I thought all of that was the stuff that you're against. As far as it being confusing, how can God enter creation as a human being? Notice he's just destroyed. If you take that seriously, and I don't like that, therefore I won't believe it. Okay, you've just destroyed the entire theology of the Quran. The Quran. Oh, by the way, if you ask what Allah's speech is, and you go to the great Muslim scholars of all time, they'll tell you the Quran is not Allah, nor is it other than Allah. The Quran is not Allah, nor is it other than Allah. In other words, they're drawing a distinction between the Quran and Allah, and yet saying that the Quran is also not something different from Allah. So it's simultaneously different enough. If you're saying anything that's confusing to me is something I will not believe, then great, you just threw that out. But notice, even if you have a problem with the incarnation, Muslims have a version of the incarnation, right? But it's the incarnation of a book. You have Allah's eternal speech. You have the eternal speech of Allah. It has no beginning. It's uncreated. It has no beginning. It can't be changed. It can't be destroyed. And what are we supposed to do with that, right? What are we supposed to do with that eternal speech that we don't have access to? Oh, well, in our world, the Quran is put in book form. It's put in a book made of paper and glue and ink. So now it's paper and glue and ink. What is the Quran that you would hold in your hands? The Quran that you hold in your hands, SNEAKO, supposedly, according to Islam, has two natures. It has a physical nature and a divine nature. It's the speech of Allah, but it's also a physical book. Okay, so that's just standard Orthodox Islam. The eternal speech of Allah, which has no beginning, has no end, can't be corrupted, enters our world as a physical book made of paper and glue and ink, which is created, which can be destroyed, which can be burned, which can fall apart. And yet if you destroy this, you wouldn't say that the eternal speech of Allah was destroyed. You have an incarnation in Islam. So if you're repulsed by the idea of God entering creation and taking on a physical nature, great, you just destroyed the doctrine of the Quran. Why did you just convert to this religion? Oh, let me guess. You never heard any of this before because you obviously didn't look into this even slightly for 5 seconds before converting.
Yeah. Destroyed.
Even not just draw Muhammad, but in Islam, you're not even supposed to draw Jesus Christ. I think a lot of Muslims find it disrespectful that Christians are put Jesus everywhere, bloody as hell, on all these crosses, because we shouldn't. And that's why I didn't really resonate with Christianity a lot growing up, because it's like they're all the images that they put of God. It doesn't make sense to me. We are not capable of
Go ahead and pause this. Notice what his problem. This was very confusing. Simultaneously, it's hey, Jesus and Muhammad are just prophets in Islam. But then his objection was to drawing God, right? Like, oh, you're putting all these pictures of your God. Wait a minute. I mean, what's your objection to having a picture of Muhammad? He's just a guy, right? I mean, this dude literally has a picture of himself in the background. What's your problem with pictures?
And also, he says that Muslims also find it disrespectful when people, draw Jesus or, make images of him where he's bloody on the cross and stuff. That's not what Muslims find disrespectful. That is not what they find. I haven't witnessed a single Muslim who thought that is incredibly disrespectful that Christians depict Jesus and make him bloody and on the cross and all that. They find it wrong. They find it. They think it is a falsehood, but they are not outraged about that. They could be outraged just in public for some publicity and for some virtue signaling about people insulting Jesus by making disrespectful cartoons, but that's not even that is happening. They don't have the same outrage that they have for Muhammad cartoons, also for others. They only have this for Muhammad. Muslims only get vastly outraged about Muhammad cartoons, about disrespecting Muhammad, because Muhammad is the great guy that everyone is supposed to bow down to and to respect and love more than themselves and their parents and everything in the world. And that is some weird cult behavior. And I would say it's like it's just a guy, it's just a prophet, but you surround yourself around him and do whatever he does while rejecting the idea of worshiping and following a man. So you are doing exactly what you are supposedly going against, and thereby following forming a cult of personality around this guy named Muhammad, who totally controls you.
Yeah, and so look, he's got multiple pictures in the background. In Islam, there's a condemnation against images in general, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so with the images of Muhammad, it's a combination. It's a combination of, hey, we have rules against images, and we have rules against disrespecting Muhammad in any way. So it sort of gets combined with a Muhammad cartoon, that this is simultaneously an image and it's an insult to Muhammad. If your problem is with images in general, why do you have a bunch of them prominently displayed in your background? And if it's if your only problem is insulting them, then what's your I mean, Christians aren't trying to insult Jesus by having, paintings of Jesus being crucified or something like that. So they're not trying to insult him.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, no, you see people dying over Muhammad cartoons. You never see people dying over Jesus cartoons, not for Muslims anyway. Yeah. And notice, by the way, that was one of the obvious glaring problems with what Tate was saying back when he was bragging about how Islam will kill you. He said, you can walk down the street of London with a shirt that says Jesus is gay. Nothing will happen to you. You walk down the street with a shirt saying Muhammad is gay. You'll be dead by the end of the block. Wait a minute. Where? So the Muslims who will kill you for saying Muhammad was gay won't kill you for saying Jesus was gay, right?
Exactly.
So it really is about one man, right? That at the end of the day, it's all about one man.
Yeah, that is precisely true.
Realizing what the creator of the universe looks like, what he's doing. Why is he in a cloud chilling with a beard? Why is he white? Why is God? It doesn't make any sense.
What does that have to do with
what in the world is he talking about? Is he he's talking about? Now think about how stupid this. I mean, now
is he talking about Renaissance depictions now? Or
yeah, is he talking about like what let's say some person in Europe is picturing in his mind if he thinks about God or something like that? That's not part of Christianity that God is some white guy with a beard in heaven. But notice, if he has a problem with that, SNEAKO, you got descriptions of Allah. And he sounds, not according to me, according to Mufti Abu Layth, the description of Allah in the Muslim source, he sounds like a gremlin. He's got one leg, but 2 feet, and then these two right arms and so on. And he sounds like a monster, but he actually has these physical body parts. I mean, one of the ways Muslims, SNEAKO, you need to pay attention to this, because you're only going to be able to recognize Allah at the judgment when he pulls up his skirt and shows and flashes you his shin, and somehow you're going to recognize him because of his shin. That's Bukhari. So like here again is a guy who he's got something that he picked up, like, oh, hey, I know some Christians who think of God as like this old white guy up in like an old grandpa or something. I can't have that. I need to go to the pure worship of God. Dude, spend 5 minutes studying your religion before you convert to it, because everything you're saying right now rules out your new religion. You're condemning your own religion. You're condemning your new religion right now.
I would love to see somebody actually respond to that at that moment when he speaks about it, and ask him, where do you get the idea that according to Christianity, God is this bearded guy who is sitting on a cloud? Where exactly do you get that from, and why are you against that? It's so dumb how the things that he presents are incredibly shallow, incredibly weak, big misunderstandings that could be pointed out by somebody who's entirely ignorant on the issue. I mean, he looks at Renaissance paintings of God and thinks, no, I don't like this. Therefore, I'm a Muslim. What in the world is this, man? That's so dumb. It is very stupid. Shall I wait till David comes back here? He's wearing a Rumble shirt because he was kicked off from YouTube for different reasons, I think for racism and harassment, and I don't know what exactly happened, but then he started getting, I think Rumble made an agreement with him or something, and he's promoting Rumble and inviting people there as an alternative platform where he can talk about how women are dumb and Jews are evil and Islam is good or something like that. Are you looking for something? Do you want me to continue?
Oh yeah. Just I recalled something from Ibn Ishaq. I just grabbed it. So let me go. Matter of fact, just let me read this, and we'll see what it says as I'm reading it.
Okay.
Ibn Ishaq from Hakim Ibn blah, 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 and other traditionalists. The Quraysh had put pictures in the Kaaba, including 2 of Jesus, son of Mary, and Mary, on both of whom be peace. Ibn Shihab said, blah, 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 that a woman in Ghassan joined in the pilgrimage of the Arabs. And when she saw the picture of Mary in the Kaaba, she said, "My father and mother be your ransom. You are surely an Arab woman." The apostle ordered that the pictures should be erased except those of Jesus and Mary. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
The apostle ordered that the pictures should be erased except those of Jesus and Mary. That's in the context of Muhammad like smashing and destroying the idols around the Kaaba. Now, isn't this interesting?
That is funny.
Because so Muhammad, guys, keep in mind, this is the conquest of Mecca. Muhammad conquers Mecca, takes over the Kaaba, smashes the idols, has people erase the pictures inside the Kaaba, except when they get to the picture of Jesus and Mary, and Muhammad says, "No, leave those. Leave those. I like those." But wait a minute. That's what SNEAKO condemns. SNEAKO condemns pictures of Jesus, and his own prophet said, "Don't erase that one. I like that one."
Yeah, yeah.
It's like how many? I mean, he's already condemned his own religion like 18 times, and we've seen like a minute and a half of this video.
That is funny. That is funny. Let's continue.
So there's no point in us even conceptualizing it because we can never have the capability to. I like the fact that you pray 5 times a day in Islam. I like. More grounded. They take prayer more seriously than any other religion. And
I would say that's not entirely true, but if it's so weird to me. I like that you pray so much. If you personally like it, then why don't you do it? Why does it have to be a mandate by the religion where you must do? If that's what you personally like, and that's what I like implies, then why don't you personally engage in the prayer instead of being like, oh, this religion, this one says you have to pray, otherwise you will be burned in hell and roasted and toasted and skinned alive and all that. That's why I think that's the perfect religion.
And what are the prayers? It's memorize this thing in Arabic, which you don't even speak. Memorize this and just recite it in front of everybody a bunch.
Yeah. You have different. I mean, if you want to talk about praying constantly, you have a lot of Christians. You have Jews who engage in constant prayer. You have Eastern religions that have entire cultures built upon constant meditation and all that. Why? This is, again, one of those nonsensical reasons where you point at Islam as the one religion that values prayer so much because you have to pray 5 times a day. By the way, this is very funny. He later admits in a different clip that he doesn't have time to pray 5 times a day, and he finds this kind of difficult, and he asks the Muslims if he really has to do that. But we should come to that in a bit.
And notice, I mean, again, we can't emphasize enough the I like this, I like that, I like this, I like that, the insane hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. If someone said after leaving Islam, I couldn't drink beer and I didn't like that, and therefore I left Islam because I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that I couldn't drink beer. I like beer. 100% of Muslims would say that is a completely stupid reason for leaving Islam. I would agree with them. If you believe that, if you had independent, separate reasons for believing that Islam is true, and there was a rule that you didn't like, well, too bad. That's the creator of the universe telling you not to drink beer, right? Yeah. And Muslims would agree with it. But when you have someone, I don't like this, I don't like that, as long as it's, I didn't like this, therefore I converted to Islam, they do not care, right? They do not care if it makes any sense.
They say, "MashaAllah, brother, very wise." That's what they say.
And again, notice, he could be saying things that completely contradict Islam. They do not care. The guy just said, "I don't want to have to submit to a man." Okay, Islam requires you to submit to a man. So notice, they should say, okay, well, you've got a problem there. You've got a problem there. You don't want to submit to a man, but you have to submit to a man. So you need to drop that. They won't even bring that up. If he ever hears that, he's going to hear that from us. He's not going to hear that from him. Since he's got a degree of popularity on the internet, their goal is going to be to not tell him all this, a bunch of this stuff, how he's wrong, because they don't want him to become an apostate, 2 weeks from now or something like that. So they're going to have to keep him in a state of ignorance about how all of his likes and dislikes actually don't lead him to Islam. In other words, once you've set yourself up, once you've set up your likes and dislikes as the criterion of your true religion, he doesn't realize it's not even pointing him to Islam. It's only because he's ignorant of Islam. He thinks that Islam is the solution here, and it's not.
His entire mindset here just sounds to me like, I was raised as a Christian, but as a Christian, I didn't do any kind of Christian stuff. But as a Muslim, I see that Islam does have a lot of Muslim stuff, and I like that. That's what I see. I mean, if you personally are in favor of worship and of prayer, you could literally, with any idea of a God, you could sit down and engage in a genuine desire of worshiping that being. The answer to that is not being mandated by Islam to do these constant prayers where you don't actually genuinely pray from the bottom of your heart, but you are forced to constantly recite things that you have memorized. That I don't think that is what I understand from the desire to pray, and yeah, it's just ridiculous.
I like the fact that they separate masculinity and femininity, how important that is. It fixes a lot of a lot of L's in the chat right now. People are getting upset. It's just food for thought. I still have the Bible right here.
Now he's backing off.
Oh, now I see why this part is blurred. Now I get it. I didn't understand because
they're all posted. They're all saying that means they're calling him a loser, right? Or saying
yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah, when he praises Islam, a lot of old fans of him are like new SNEAKO L, Islam L, which basically is in their language like loser. And he's not taking that very well.
And then he's immediately, I still got a Bible right here, ladies and gentlemen. I still got a Bible.
Guys, don't be upset. I still have this.
I still have the Bible right here. I still read the Bible. But
yeah, it looks really worn.
Yeah, I did convert.
It's been burning that thing up.
So we have this clip here. We have another next clip where he is actually sitting next to.
Sitting there with a woman.
Who is Destiny's wife, by the way, and he's sitting here with her. And in this specific part of this video, she tells him, "Tell me why I should convert to Islam," and he then tries. And I haven't watched that whole thing.
I haven't seen this.
I listened to only parts of it, but I'm genuinely curious what happens here. I haven't even sent you this, right? Because I
did not know this existed.
I only became aware of this like a few minutes.
Well, by the way, this is interesting because Destiny's been blasting Islam. For Muhammad marrying a little girl and stuff like that. So I'm assuming his wife here knows something about this stuff. Interesting.
Yeah.
SNEAKO makes her convert to Islam. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a clickbait thing. Let's see.
Okay, wait. Okay,
feminism that they become lost.
Try to debate me into Islam.
Debate you into Islam?
Yeah, tell me why I should join Islam.
I think Islam is the only religion that makes sense. I think, well, first, before you even consider religion, I think it's extremely important to have a value system that will lead you on a right path towards approaching the world. Especially right now, there's a lot of brainwashing going on. Everybody's addicted to the internet, so you can very quickly.
There's the Matrix.
Into
the Matrix. The Matrix is out to get us, and Islam will help us fight the Matrix.
Compare yourself to other people. You can listen to the music, and then you start worshiping false idols. If you don't worship a religion,
I don't think this has anything to do with Islam. This could be applied to anything.
I'm getting to
That's good. She recognized that because lots of people will just hear, you need a value system. You need a good value system that will allow child marriage and wife beating and stuff like that. And
people are pointing out. They're pointing out that he's basically parroting Andrew Tate. He's in many of the stuff that he says. He's just saying whatever Andrew Tate said, and he's like paraphrasing it, saying the things in his own words. And he doesn't like the Matrix.
And it's funny because he's parroting Tate, and then some of his younger, dumber fans are going to parrot him, and you're just like this it's like this Russian nesting doll situation.
Yeah.
Like you got the big guy, and then they're all spouting the same nonsense.
Yeah. It's good that
isn't it funny? Like you open up one, then another one pops out. You open up, you open up Andrew, then SNEAKO pops out, and SNEAKO pops, and then one of his fans pops out, and so on. But this is it's this interesting situation. I have a morbid curiosity in seeing how far this can go, because back in the day, and this was true of everything back in the day, if you wanted to be put forward as a speaker, as a representative for some position, then you had to develop a level of credibility before an organization is going to promote you to do its speaking. In other words, before Christians start popularizing you as a speaker, a Christian scholar, or something like that, you would generally have to spend quite a bit of time developing competence in that area. Same thing with Islam. Back in the day, they would pick, Muslim organizations would pick Ahmed Deedat or Zakir Naik based on all this work that they've been putting in for years, memorizing these lists of scriptures and so on, and these terrible arguments. But then we got to the age of the internet, and then you can sort of bypass all of that and just become popular on the internet, and then everyone has to take you seriously. But the result of that is it's like at first you at least had to know what you're talking about. Then it gets to the point where you've got the popular Dawah guys, and they study Islam, but they're not scholars. And now you're just getting to where you have complete morons who know absolutely nothing about the religion. They're becoming the public spokesman for the religion. So it's like wondering how far this can go. Like, where do you go from this? Like, you've gone from scholar to Dawah guy, non-scholar, to completely incompetent buffoon who knows nothing about it. Like, what's the next step in this devolution?
The issue is that this is all a plan by the Matrix to destabilize Islam by putting forth anti-Matrix people like SNEAKO and Andrew Tate to propagate Islam. This is all a game by the Matrix. We are being tricked by the Matrix. We have to learn how to escape the Matrix, which is why we need to listen to SNEAKO. Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
If you don't worship like something in religion, you end up worshiping something else. That's just naturally how we are as people. We need something to worship. And I've seen now people worship celebrities that worship the person on the stage. They worship actors. They worship the government.
Andrew Tate.
And I think the best thing to worship would be something in religion, because that has community. It has a system. It has routine. It has it gives you a guide to life. And then you think about,
okay, this is so ridiculous.
Notice it's all, and this is again, this is similar to Daniel and Tate. It's all like practical. It's all, this is helpful.
It makes sense. This is
helpful. This is helpful to me to navigate the world in an insane world.
I don't know what else to do in this world. I'm just, I don't know how to exist without this. Islam just takes care of all the stuff that I find problematic in this world. It helps me live just the way I want, because this world is getting very, very, very scary and dangerous. And Islam gives a perfect answer to all of this. Women are considered equal here, and I just find that very scary personally. And Islam comes and solves that problem and puts women in their place where they belong. And I love that. It's just ironic to me that he talks about how nowadays in the age of the internet, everyone can pick up and follow wrong ideas, and then he is the one who picked up Islam from the internet and propagates it now without knowing anything to other people.
Yeah, and notice, I mean, you could agree with everything he just said. You could agree with everything he just said. Yeah, people need a moral code, and they need something, hey, you're going to worship something in your life. You could agree with all of that and still say, why in the blue hell would you advocate building your life around Muhammad? Like, I would regard Muhammad as the most obvious false prophet in history. If you lined up every person who's ever, not even just people who've claimed to be prophets, if you lined up every person who's ever existed, Muhammad is the most obvious false prophet out of everyone ever. So if you're saying, hey, believe everything this guy tells you about God and reality and so on, the question is why? Why should you believe him? And all he's saying is, well, you need a code. Everyone needs a code. Even dogs need a code. Even little dogs, even little puppies, you have to train your puppy to go outside to the bathroom. See, this is why we need Islam.
Even the Matrix has a code.
Even the Matrix has a code.
Yeah.
What religion is makes the most sense, because it's hard to suspend your disbelief because you can't see God. And the one that makes the most sense to me, and why I recommend it for you, is that there must be one creator.
Hey.
The world must have been created by
something. The one religion that makes the most sense to people who've obviously never studied it is Islam. Islam makes complete sense to people who've never studied it, because people who've never ever studied it hear Islam is just a religion of submitting to God, and we say, oh, that's simple, and so we don't need to study it because we've heard that about it. And so that's why we convert to it. It makes the most sense to us people who never study it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That is hilarious, man.
And conceptualize what it is, and Islam doesn't try to. We just worship the creator because we are happy.
What? Okay. I want to tell SNEAKO. I want to tell SNEAKO, he's talking again about conceptualizing what God is. And SNEAKO, you have a very terrible understanding of Islam so far, and Islam's description of Allah. So I would like for SNEAKO to go and talk to his newfound Islamist Muslim friends again, and ask them exactly what they think about this, especially the traditionalists. I want him to ask them if Islam has a description of the physical, aspects and otherwise of Allah, or Allah's location, for example. Please go do that, because I don't think you understand what you're talking about here, man.
Yeah, this is
wild stuff.
Conceptualize what it is, and Islam doesn't try to. We just worship the creator because we are.
That's all you do.
Created everything.
What about Buddhism?
They believe in like reincarnation and stuff.
And they believe that God is within us and everywhere, and that the whole universe is just a God, and we're including it, right? Do you think that could be the case too? Have you read about the other religions?
I've read about Buddhism. I grew up Catholic. I read about Hinduism.
So why
Judaism.
Islam?
Because Islam is the belief that there's one creator, and he's created the whole world.
Yeah, as opposed to Judaism and Christianity and everything.
This is so stupid. I mean, they're calling her stupid, right? And she's asking a very, very obvious question, actually, that should come up next when he spouts all this nonsense. So
yeah, I have no clue about who she is or what she thinks, but yes, wow. She just raised the obvious question, the correct question, which he's saying, we need a code and we need this and that. Okay, there are other religions. Why Islam? Because it makes the most. What? How? He's not explaining why Islam is the correct choice, and yet he's chosen Islam and chosen to be the public face of Islam.
This is, I guess, this exchange here could be the reason why women having a say is dangerous, and because
this is why women must be in silence. We will question you and ask you to clarify what you're saying and explain yourself. How dare you?
Oh boy.
And
doesn't Christianity say the exact same thing?
No, Christianity believes in Jesus is also God, and there's the Holy Spirit.
They believe in multiple gods. They believe in one God.
They also believe that Jesus Christ is God. And the reason that I kind of gravitated away from that is because, one, they have Jesus everywhere. I don't think that we should always like see images of the prophet. And I also don't think that a man could be God. I don't think that we should worship a man, personally. I respect Jesus, and I think he was a prophet, peace be upon him. But I don't think that you should worship a man.
Look, she grinned when he said peace be upon him.
I know. I'm seeing that grin on her face right now.
Sisters, we're all created the same.
We're all equal. Are you feminist?
We're all equal as humans. We're all equal as God's creation, and that's what Islam is.
I think she is not from a Christian. She's Swedish, but I think she didn't grow up with Christianity or anything, but rather from a completely atheistic background. So she doesn't really know about the religion. But it's very funny how she raises the obvious issue here. He says, what's basically happening here is he says, well, I think we should convert to Islam because Islam offers a code to live by, and Islam has one God, and he created everything, and you worship him, and that makes sense, and that is Islam, therefore Islam. And she's like, well, there are a lot of different alternatives to this in the world. Why not them? Why Islam? And he's like, well, I don't know. It's just You know, those things sound weird, and I don't like it. And Islam sounds true, therefore Islam. That's what's happening here, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so it sounds like, hey, I didn't like pictures of Jesus in church, and therefore I was like, oh, okay, is there some other religion that doesn't have pictures? If so, I'll sign on to that instantly. It's also pro child marriage and pro wife beating and pro polygamy and sex slaves, and okay, I'm fine with all that, as long as I don't make pictures. If there's no pictures, even though I don't have a problem, hey, look. He's still got pictures in his background. Hey, maybe people ask, why aren't they on the wall? Maybe he's actually taking them down, like haram, haram.
So how do you practice Islam? Like, what is like the main things here that you need to do to?
Well, there's 5 pillars. First, you say that I bear witness that Allah is the one true creator and Muhammad is a prophet of God.
Hey, hang on for a second.
And you start your
yeah.
Is he deliberately sitting with his back to her, like for Islamic purposes, or is this? Is this? Hey, you know, I'm supposed to lower my gaze so I can't look at you. So you walk into the room, and I'll be facing the computer, and you just sit in the chair behind me, and I won't have to see you.
That's an interesting take. I didn't see the rest of the video, but
like I don't know if he just is normally. I don't know if he's just normally like this, or if like from an Islamic perspective, I don't want to see you, so I'll talk to you, but you have to sit behind me.
Maybe. Well, what's funny is there is a recent, just a few nights ago, he was on this show which is called Fresh and Fit or something like that, where they have a studio full of women who are often quite scantily dressed, and he was on that show just together with Destiny, where they were kind of discussing, and he was just sitting there in that room with everybody. So I'm not sure if he actually has any awareness or any deliberation in, you know, lowering his gaze or being isolated from women and all that.
Someone said he's normally like this. He said he does that with other guests before his conversion. So apparently he just sits facing the screen with other people behind him or something.
Yeah, it looks like it's his normal setup.
Sort of disrespectful.
Yeah.
Prayer and you fast.
To clarify, somebody asked, did she really convert to Islam? No. This title, SNEAKO makes Melina convert to Islam, is just entirely clickbait. She is smirking at his whole idea. And what? I saw like parts of this whole exchange. She's often just mocking the things that he says while he's trying to actually get through to her. It's kind of hilarious.
Hey, you know, it'd be funny if she's like doing this behind him and stuff like this. And
yeah,
I don't get why'd they have to make it clickbaity, like he converted her, instead of like all you had to do was put a question mark at the end instead of an exclamation point, and you could defend it.
That's their bread and butter. That's how it goes.
The 4th pillar, I don't remember what the 4th pillar is. And then the final one is you go and visit Mecca, where that religion was created.
Okay, well, to be fair.
So we know the 5 pillars better than him.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
Wait a minute, he doesn't know the 5 pillars?
He doesn't remember. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he definitely knows, but he doesn't remember.
You can, but
then he definitely doesn't know the 6 articles of faith.
Well, prayer is
probably not.
You're not going to consistently go pray if you don't believe it. Like the prayer isn't accepted by Allah if you don't believe it.
Okay. So I wouldn't have to like change too much because I already have like community.
Well, you would have to give up your
I already have a routine. I already have like.
You would have to delete your OnlyFans.
Why? I don't even have an OnlyFans actually.
Same thing.
But Tate's girls don't have to delete their OnlyFans.
Yeah. Tate can still have a whole business where his girls have OnlyFans. What's the problem here?
She should have said that. She should have said, "What if I have an OnlyFans, but I pay you the money and you pay Muslims? You pay your zakat out of that. Would that be okay?" And then watch. I guarantee you, if she said that, he would go silent because he's like, "I don't want to condemn Andrew Tate."
What? But I'm posting Instagram pictures.
So it's funny. She's basically saying, I don't need a community. I already have a community. I already have a purpose. I already do have all these things. So nothing is lacking. Why would I need Islam for this? And that's just a glaring representation of exactly what's wrong here. It is SNEAKO himself who has a certain perspective of how things in the world are wrong, and he can't handle it. And he thinks Islam is the solution because it He just feels so strongly about it. But this is not something. This is not a reason to convert to Islam. This is not a universal reason to convert to Islam. This is just something that you emotionally, with a completely twisted perspective, came to, and that's it.
Yeah, this is not. They don't seem to, guys. If you want to say, if someone asks you why is Islam true, or why should they become a Muslim, sharing your personal likes and dislikes is not an answer, and sharing general self-help stuff about, you know, how some sort of anchor in life is going to be helpful. Yeah, all of that might be perfectly relevant to bring up, but it's not an answer to the question, right? So if you want to answer this actual question, there are two paths you can go. One, arguments for why Muhammad's a true prophet. Two, arguments for why the Quran is the actual speech of Allah. One of those directions. Here is how I know that Muhammad is a prophet, and therefore I have to believe what he tells me about God. Or here is how I can know that the Quran is the speech of Allah, and therefore that I have, if I want to submit to God, I have to submit to what the Quran says. Those are the routes you're going, but that seems like the only directions none of these guys goes. They don't go in either one of those directions. Notice, if we were to take this, if we were to take these guys seriously in their claims, every debate they should be having should be about Muhammad or the Quran. That should be it. Like every single thing, we want to show that Muhammad is a prophet. We want to show that the Quran is the word of God. We want to show that Muhammad is a prophet. We want to show that the Quran is the word of God. Instead, it's all this like peripheral side issues, because it really looks like they don't want to defend those issues. Like,
I don't like how society is currently acting. I don't like how people think. Therefore, Islam makes sense. It's so stupid. I remember several weeks ago, somebody in reference to SNEAKO being interested in Islam, and somebody else said something like, a lot of highly cerebral people are getting interested in Islam and thinking of converting to Islam. And I thought, are you kidding me? Are people stupid? I'm sorry, but people will describe SNEAKO, for example, as somebody who is like highly cerebral, who is very deep and all of that. And I'm just thinking, maybe this is how people who have never engaged with actual ideas and arguments think being, very deep sounds like. But nothing that this guy has said so far, nothing that I have ever heard of from this guy, sounds in any way deep, sounds in any way profound, sounds in any way convincing. This is very, very stupid.
And I have to wonder where they're going with this, because I don't mean this guy in particular. I mean like the Dawa gangs for thinking that this is a good idea. I have noticed the change in people from when I was younger. I used to teach philosophical ethics and philosophy of human nature. And just in class discussions, you see how different the newer generation was, where everything they would say, they would start off with, I feel. Well, I feel blah, 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 blah. Well, my feeling on this is like, this is a philosophy class. I'm not asking you about your freaking feelings, right? I'm asking you like, formulate an argument. And they couldn't get around the idea of, I feel this, I feel that. And it's just become this notice, if you say, here's a reason for something, here's my argument, that is open to examination. We could just if you say you feel a certain way, you've just put it outside the realm of like discourse. This is the way I feel. Well, I can't disagree with you about the way you feel if that's how you actually feel. And like, so now you've got this new generation. Well, I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like this. I don't like that. Muslims are celebrating this as long as it's, oh, I feel like I should convert to Islam. I feel really bothered by all the LGBTQ stuff, so I'm going to convert to Islam. They love that, not realizing dude, if you guys are cheering as people now decide their religion based on their feelings, you might want to lay off all the promoting child brides and wife beating, because that's going to affect people's feelings. They're going to be like, I don't feel like this is a good religion with all this child bride nonsense going on.
Yeah. I had this whole similar impression about, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are against Islam and who don't like Islam and who think that people like Andrew Tate say intelligent, profound things and that they're actually smart. And I said the same thing before Andrew Tate even converted to Islam, and that is verifiable. I think I heard Andrew Tate speak when he started going viral and being popularized on social media, and I thought the guy says nothing at all that sounds in any way profound and deep. Nothing that you sit down after a lot of reading and research and thinking, and something that is mind blowing. He said nothing at all that is smart. And if you think, and I don't want to insult people personally here, but this is I feel like this is just a truth that needs to be spoken, no matter how harsh it sounds. If you think that Andrew Tate, for example, says some great, revolutionary, very intelligent, deep things, and also think, for example, that SNEAKO is a very deeply intelligent person who says very profound things, you might not be very smart. In fact, you might be very, very stupid, and you might just be, in terms of the intellectual depth of things that you go into, you might be on a maybe lower than mainstream or just mainstream level. None of this is in any way smart. This is this is entirely stupid, not deep at all, this guy's reasons. And he's just a follower of Andrew Tate, who is maybe slightly more intelligent than he is. So people like these should not be the ones who are out there influencing the direction of society and where it goes. With the spread of the internet, it is very ironic that this guy points it out. With the spread of the internet, the average commoner, who is not remotely on the level of philosophers in their own times, has become an influencer in determining which way people go in terms of deciding their ideology or their religious beliefs. And although I am always for popularizing and democratizing everything, this is just a very clear example of how terrible some of the impacts of that can be, where we have guys like these take the place of philosophers in history. You know what I mean. It's
we're getting to an interesting stage in human history where as long as you're a popular streamer, what's the point of critical thinking at all?
Yeah. Imagine of all the figures that you learn in philosophy who influence society, and then imagine SNEAKO here taking their place and becoming significant in making people think. It's sad.
And even with a woman right beside him asking, okay, give me what are your reasons? Notice, I mean, if you actually know anything about your religion, that should be an awesome golden opportunity for you, right? Like, hey, someone is asking me why I should believe in this thing that you believe. It's like, hey, open invitation, give me your reasons. And it's, oh, you don't want to not have any sort of foundation to what you believe. So you got to kind of need something there to get you through life. That's what Islam does for me, because I like it, because I don't know anything about it.
In my mind, I'm just thinking, I know you're not a fan of Nietzsche, but
well, on certain issues I am.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of reading a book of Nietzsche and then sitting down and for hours trying to dissect and understand what he's saying, why he's saying it, and studying just a page of Nietzsche on society and human interactions, compared to these guys like, hey, things are really bad right now, and the Matrix sent their agents.
Yeah, and it's so because. I mean, when we actually live in a certain amount of time in a certain spot in history, right?
Yeah.
Every generation has its stuff to deal with, right? Every generation has its stuff to deal with. It's like you get to our generation, oh my goodness, the world is going to end right now if we don't convert to Islam because of this, right? Like, I mean, other generations had like World War II and everything else, and now we've got like, what's going on with us internet thing? internet thing, and now we need to convert to Islam because of the LGBTQ stuff and because of feminism. And it's like, I don't know, man. Human beings have had to deal with a lot of stuff over the centuries, and for these guys to be in a generation, oh no, there's lots of stuff going on in the world. We all need to convert to Islam or else. And it's like, my goodness, guys.
Yeah. There are several other things. I think that was enough of this from this clip, but there are a few other things that I want to actually address, which were important. Here is his interaction with Muslims, and I wanted to go through some of the stuff that is here. Like, he brings up one issue here. This is a discussion where he argues with three Muslims, and there was a lot of talking about Jews, which I find already very, very funny. And they try to censor every mention of Israel and of Jews and try to just mute it and then talk about it anyway. But so he brings his whole neo-Nazi ideas to the table here. But aside from that, he also talks about what he likes about Islam, and I think we should look at that here.
Why do all these guys have super dope chairs except me?
I don't know. You need to buy something. You need to change your life. You need to be like Andrew Tate.
I would say I've always resonated with it. And I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting Christianity when I talk about this. It's just, it didn't.
Too late, man. Too late.
There's a lot of things that I'm explaining and not trying to disrespect it, but just trying to explain like why I never felt like Christianity spoke to me.
Let me guess, pictures.
Like there's a hierarchy in Christianity. In Catholicism, they have bishops, they have priests, they have the Pope.
Wait, what?
There's like a power structure, like politics.
Wait, what? I hadn't seen that, AP.
Let it finish.
In the religion, which makes no sense. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in Islam, there is none. It's just we're all equal. We're all God's children.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. You are totally equal to Muhammad himself because he is a mere human being, and therefore you are totally equal to Muhammad. You are told that you always have to submit to your leader. But no, there's no hierarchy. You're totally equal.
You are not to publicly criticize Islamic leaders. You are never ever to publicly oppose the leader, the political or military leader of the Muslim community. You are always below them and are to obey them no matter what, even if they seemingly do like wrong things, except if they go fully against Islam. Where you are, even then in that case, you're not supposed to publicly call them out, but rather, solve it differently. So there is clear hierarchy prescribed by Muhammad himself. You are inferior to Muhammad and have to obey him no matter what, despite the fact that he is not divine or anything at all. So it's very funny here that he talks about hierarchy, not in Christianity, by the way, in Catholicism. And it's like, Islam doesn't have that. And that's what I like about Islam. Dude, what?
Yeah. And Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures and Muslims are the best of people. So some people are obviously superior to others. The reason, according to Surah 4, verse 34 of the Quran, the reason that men can, beat women into submission is because men are superior to women. Your wife is your property. She's your tilth to plow however you want. So I don't know, AP, you can kind of look in every direction and see a hierarchy in Islam. And that's not, you could go in a bunch of different routes. You can have the political, the military, the theological and so on, where you just end up with people who mindlessly obey their leaders. And that's what's encouraged. And that's what was encouraged about Muhammad, that you can't have, we read Surah 4, verse 65 of the Quran. You can't have any resistance against anything Muhammad decides. Mm-hmm. If you do, you're not a real Muslim. So even if we somehow ignored everything Islam teaches about submitting to your leaders and so on, you still are like that with Muhammad. So on what planet is there no hierarchy?
He also kind of carries his Christian idea of your relationship with God over here, which I I mean, he's new. Maybe he doesn't understand that that's a little bit further of a step. But he says we are all children of God. Right? No such thing exists in Islam.
No, there's no such thing as a child of God.
They will respond to that in a second. They will correct him there, which is good. But
by the way, notice because I just recently watched I posted a video about it, but Jordan Peterson was having a discussion with that Constantine guy from Trigonometry. And Constantine was saying, you know, he doesn't really believe in anything. He says he's not opposed to it. But he was saying in their discussion, so this is when Jordan Peterson goes, I don't like your Allah. You know,
I don't buy your Allah.
I don't buy your Allah, right? Is when he said that. And then Constantine said, yeah, I don't think I need these mullahs I don't need a middleman. You know, if I did believe in God, I don't think I need a middleman to stand between us. And Jordan Peterson said, well, that makes you a good Protestant then. Right? So, but notice everything he's saying about why he, you know, things he doesn't like in Catholicism would just mean, oh, okay, so you don't like, you know, the church authority and things. Okay, well, that would make you kind of that would just put you in the Protestant category. If you don't want, like, if you have a problem with a pope, okay, there's no pope over here or something.
This is one of the main themes of the Protestant Reformation. This is one of the main things of Martin Luther and a lot of the Protestant leaders and reformers. So their issue with Catholicism is what this guy also finds problematic about Catholicism, but then he just generalizes that for Christianity altogether. I don't think this guy knows what he's talking about.
This guy doesn't know anything about anything he's talking about, and yet notice. Everyone's having him on their podcast to explain. Isn't that weird? Yeah. Like it used to be, like if we want to bring someone on, we want to bring on an expert. There are people who know a lot more than I do on a bunch of different topics. In fact, you could pick almost any topic, apart from like my own personal thoughts or something like that, my own personal experience. Every topic you could bring up, there are other people who know more than I do. And so it makes sense to say, oh, we're having a discussion on this topic. Let's bring in someone who knows way more than we do. And with these converts, it's oh, here's a guy who, I mean, obviously has never read anything about this religion. Let's get him on to promote the religion.
Yep. Wow. Very, very funny stuff.
We don't really use the word, the terminology children, but 100% we say that God is our master, we're all his slaves. So although there will be levels, like for example, the imam or the sheikh will have a certain level, not over people in sight of God, but we listen to them because they have knowledge. People like the leader of the Islamic community, we listen to them because they're the leader. They were kind of put in place by God to make sure the community is safe, and they have responsibility, just like a husband has responsibility for.
Okay, I will let him finish, but just notice the irony and the whole moving the goalpost and just changing definitions.
Yeah,
what's going on here?
Yeah, notice what's he saying? That we're all equally human, but because of the roles, there's a hierarchy. Because of the different roles we have, there's an obvious hierarchy.
No, we are all equal. In Islam, it's not like that. We are all equal, except of course that there is a hierarchy based on different roles in society and all of that. But you know that all of that has its reason. So there basically is hierarchy, but just because it makes sense in our perspective, there also is not. Therefore, yes, you are completely right, SNEAKO.
There's a level of authority there, but it's not that, oh, he's better than us or God loves him more. You can have like a poor person who worships God, who's very loved by God because of their, devotion.
So what does that have to do with anything that SNEAKO just said?
Yeah, and notice, I mean, the guy was correcting SNEAKO without admitting that he's correcting him, but then he's like, oh, God doesn't love him more than you. What are you talking? What Quran are you reading, dude? There are all these things about Allah not loving you if you do this, not loving you if you do that, not loving you. Allah does not love the unbelievers. He doesn't love the proud. He doesn't love the mischief makers. He doesn't love any arrogant boaster. He doesn't love all kinds of people. So he does love certain people more than others, indisputably, according to your Quran. What in the name of common sense are you talking about here?
These guys are very dishonest, and he is very clueless, and that's a very, very nice combination here.
Okay, and there's no hierarchy, because I had a debate with somebody when I was debating, and maybe this is a waste of time to even go back and forth on this.
I had a debate with someone else who doesn't know anything.
I do engage. I was talking about how there's pictures of the Pope like kissing the feet of African leaders, like kissing in Islam. That's haram. Like you don't kiss somebody's feet. The only person the only being that you submit to is God. And his response was,
okay, either I'm not getting it, or this makes no sense right now.
This makes no sense. What he
this
just
makes
said makes absolutely
no sense. He comes from, there is hierarchy in Catholicism, and also connected to this, it doesn't make sense that the Pope goes and kisses the feet of other human beings. That makes no sense.
Yeah, notice this wasn't guys, keep in mind, I'm not Catholic. I have no special allegiance to the Pope or anything, but notice how he just completely reversed it. He's complaining about the hierarchy of having a Pope, but then complaining where the Pope, in order to show humility, kisses the feet of other people, right? In order to show that he is
this is so stupid.
Like as an outward sign of his humility, because Jesus didn't say kiss people's feet, but he said wash one another's feet. It was an act of humility, in order to keep you from being too puffed up. So it has it built in that you are supposed to do acts that humble you, for your own sake, and as an example for those around you. And he's complaining about that. In other words, gosh, when the Pope does that, it's like he's saying, hey, I wasn't just born some superior person to you. I will kiss your feet. And he's complaining about that. So if he's, I'm the Pope, I'm the greatest, then it's, shame on you. If it's, hey, I'll kiss your feet, shame on you for doing that. This is just so like, weird, man.
I imagine a different scenario where he says, the Pope is above all of us, and I just don't like that whole hierarchy and the difference in value. And somebody else comes and says, okay, but isn't it significant to you that the Pope kisses the feet of other Christians as a sign of humility, before God? That's a scenario that I would imagine. But here is this same guy who says, I don't like that there is a sense of hierarchy in Catholicism and Christianity, where, why is the Pope above everyone else? Also, why is the Pope kissing the feet of regular humans? Man, this is too much.
This is bad.
Berserker, his response was that the sheikhs are always doing deals, and but the sheikhs, they have no. They don't have a hierarchical role in Islam. They're respected in the Arabic community, but that has nothing to do with Islam, correct?
It does.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like, hierarchy, like the Pope kind of in Christianity is above everybody else. Like they're the guy. His word is almost infallible. That stuff is crazy.
Rami, everyone's saying you're muted right now.
So, yeah, the Pope is above everybody else, and I don't like that. Therefore, I take Islam where Muhammad is above everybody else and infallible and unquestionable. And that's a very good reason here. Perfect, man. This is amazing. It's just fantastic. And this is so stupid. There was another part where, wait a minute. Discussion on influencers accepting Islam. No, there was another issue here. His journey to it. SNEAKO's journey to Islam, right here.
And all that. And
one day I saw a picture. I saw a picture and it really bothered me, so I converted to Islam because they don't like pictures over there. Then I married a little kid. Then I married a bunch of little kids because that didn't bother me at all. I was like, hey, they're my fans.
Yeah.
To be further astray because of their own wrongdoings and all that. And at that point, it's kind of difficult to kind of unplug from the matrix. So what helped
you? My goodness. They're all there. Do they all talk about the Matrix now?
They all started talking about it once Andrew Tate started talking about it, and they all became collectively stupid. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So it's like they're being plugged into
the Matrix.
The Matrix of stupidity.
The Matrix is coming after us all.
The Matrix.
Yeah, it's Matrix Master.
The Matrix is out to get us. We got to unplug from the Matrix. I saw a movie. in the 90s.
By the way, are people who are
hey, I saw this movie that was made by two biological males who transitioned to females. And I'm gonna take this movie as my entire philosophy of life now in my campaign against all things LGBTQ.
Are you also did we talk about this last time? Did we just talk about this? But are people aware? People who are like avid fans of the Matrix and of the message behind it and of the whole philosophy and all of that, are they aware of the actual message according to the creators of the Matrix, what the Matrix is actually about? Are people aware of this? I just want to ask every red pill Matrix fan about what exactly they think the Matrix is about, internally, initially. You can look it up. Many years later, the two people who created the show, who are now who are trans, actually explained what their whole idea was. And the whole idea is, from their own perspective, it is being captivated in a world where you do not belong and you feel imprisoned in a body and a system, a binary system, which you personally do not belong to, which you want to escape and find your way out in their own way. That is their way of expressing how they feel that they are women, but they are made to believe that this is wrong and used by a system which misidentifies them, and they find their way out of it. So by the admission of the creators of the Matrix, their entire idea behind this is their desire to identify with the opposite gender. It is a transgender movie. That's what it is. That's what the idea behind it is, according to them. But hey, Matrix, red pill, and all that,
And I mean, have you seen all this stuff they do where like, oh, the day Tate was released on house arrest is the same date that the Matrix movie was. You see that they're admitting that it's real. They're admitting the conspiracy. They're throwing it in your face. And it's like, wait, so you actually believe that okay, the Matrix is a thing. There's this Matrix system out there. Like I had assumed they're making some analogy, right? Like it's like the Matrix. But when they're talking, when even Tate himself is talking like that, you see the date that I was released is the same date the movie is released. It's like he actually believes that there's like this plot in the movie. Like there's this plot of the people who made and produced and released the movie. And it's somehow connected to him being arrested for sex trafficking and so on in Romania. And the people who control the Matrix are acknowledging that it's all connected. And it's like, so apparently these guys actually, one, they believe in this Matrix stuff, but two, they actually believe it's connected to the movie somehow.
Yeah,
it's wild stuff.
I'm not, for those who are surprised, I'm not making this up. It's actually, this should be common knowledge by now. Lily Wachowski has addressed the trans allegory in The Matrix, saying she's glad the meaning is being understood and discussed 2 decades after the film debuted. The filmmaker, who co-wrote and co-directed the groundbreaking 1999 movie with her sister Lana, so these are the Wachowski brothers who are now sisters after their transformation, who also came out as trans in the 2010s, said the world wasn't quite ready for a trans narrative at the turn of the millennium. I'm glad that it has gotten out. The world wasn't quite ready for it. The corporate world wasn't ready for it. I love how meaningful those films are to trans people and the way that they come up to me and say, those movies saved my life. Because when you talk about transformation, specifically in the world of science fiction, which is just about imagination and world building and so on, I'm grateful to be part and all that. So this is the creators explaining that this is what the movie is actually about.
You should make some sort of video how Andrew Tate is promoting trans something like that, right? And say, hey, by supporting this movie, he's
yeah, you could totally do that. I mean, it's
yeah, keep in mind. So let me get this straight. No pun intended. From their perspective, the Matrix is the oppressive system that keeps you locked into. The Matrix is this bad thing that keeps you in this binary system, and you're escaping the Matrix by transitioning out of that. And then, so it's like, wait, Tate and co are interpreting this to mean the exact opposite. Like they're using it in the exact opposite way. The Matrix is this system that's doing all this weird stuff to you and keeping you, and to get out of that, escaping the Matrix is when you become a real man, a real strong man, and fight against all this stuff. It's like, wait, the opposite?
Yeah.
Well,
whale. It is very, very ironic, very funny.
Journey to find that one being to submit to be Allah.
You guys saw it, so I actually want to thank you guys. Rami and Fayed, you're in here, and he's in France. The third one, I forgot his name. Oh no. Sorry about that. But you, I would say, like, conversations like this. I want to say it's been a year since I started live streaming. I started daily live streaming 1 year ago, yesterday, and that journey, just kind of being degenerate. I was smoking weed, not having a clear direction, and just like kind of upset, that feeling that I was programmed and not knowing what was going on. It took a year. It was a year of having these conversations with guys like you, traveling the world, talking to different people, seeking out the right information. And I always seek it through comedy and entertainment. It took a year to get to that point. And
yeah, I don't know if there's anything of value being said here, but there is just one final thing that I want to look at.
I mean, it's all feeling.
Yeah, I like and I feel,
and you can tell. And notice what he said. There's no part in there about actually studying and reading a book. It's I've traveled the world, I've been in conversations, and he's clearly been in conversations where whatever he said, anytime he says something bothers him, the Muslim he's talking to goes, "Oh, Islam is the solution for that thing that's bothering you." Like, oh man, I really got a problem with the Pope and the hierarchy, and simultaneously with the Pope kissing someone's feet. So I have a problem. I have a problem with that. Oh, did you know that there's no hierarchy in Islam? We're all just completely equal in the eyes of Allah. Well, really? Oh, let me sign up for that. Well, this is...
I don't like pictures. I just don't like pictures, man. I'm like,
hey, at least he's facing this woman instead of,
who is very inappropriately dressed. What is this?
And he's not even lowering his gaze.
Yeah, no. Terrible.
It reminded me how much of a bad Catholic I am, because I don't even remember the answer to these questions.
I mean, that's what it is. Yeah, you're eating crackers that are his body, and you're drinking his blood.
There's more to it. It's like,
that's what it is. I grew up Catholic. I almost got confirmed.
But it's like, that's what Jesus did at the Last Supper.
Is he saying that's what this all Christianity is, or that's all Catholic? I don't know the context here, but it sounds like that.
They're talking about communion, but the irony right there of because I did see a little bit of this, because you sent me this. I saw a few minutes of this, but he's complaining about the doctrine of communion, which when he's objecting to the idea that this is actual body and blood of Christ, here again, like Protestants would say something very similar. Protestants would generally say something very similar, but if he's I don't know how to put this. If you go back, we talk about this pretty regularly. Muhammad's companions, when Muhammad would get cut, would jump and try to drink his blood.
Yeah.
They would take his used ablution water and rub it all over themselves. They would take his spit and his saliva, any fluid that excreted from his body, they would rub it all over themselves.
When
he urinated into a pot and a woman drank it, he said that it had miraculous powers. His urine had miraculous powers. So here's the thing. Suppose we take the whatever doctrine he's objecting to, as far as the body and the blood of Christ and so on. Muhammad's followers had reverence for him in a very similar fashion, and yet he's not the God man. He's not the incarnate God. It's got nothing to do with him dying for the sins of others. They just instantly want to start putting his bodily fluids all over themselves, and to consume his urine and his blood and everything else. And this dude doesn't have I can't say he doesn't have a problem with that. I guarantee he's never heard that before. He's never ever heard that before. And so the question is, when you got these guys who know absolutely nothing about Islam and they're raising their objections, and then every objection they raise, I can say, "Ow, you just condemned Islam. You just condemned the Sahaba. You just condemned all these guys." I'm interested. Is he then going to say, "Oh, I guess Islam isn't the religion for me," or is he going to just say, "Oh, but it's fine when Islam does it"?
Yeah. The person here on the screen, this woman is her name is Pearl Davis. Is that what her name is? I don't know. People might be aware of her. She had some spotlight because as a woman she came out and spoke in favor of conservative values and stuff like that, and then she started getting attention and created this YouTube channel which is called Just Pearly Things. And
whoa, she's got 1.5 million subscribers.
Really?
Wow, that's crazy.
Wait, she has that much?
Doing what?
Just Pearly Things. Wow. Okay. Yeah. No, I recently only became aware of her because she had that neo-Nazi guy Nick Fuentes on, and she let him talk quite a bit, and even in some ways, like, seemingly agreed with some pretty insane things that he said about the Holocaust and Jews and Nazis and stuff. And then she became like under attack for that, and it looked like she didn't really know what she was doing there.
Oh yeah, she's been on trigonometry and stuff. So
oh yeah, on trigonometry they kind of really. What are you talking about? Jacob said Nick isn't a neo-Nazi. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? He's not. What do you want to call it? You just want to call it a white separatist, white nationalist?
You know what's weird? You know what's weird? I've seen over and over again, like people, white nationalists and white separatists will object to being called white supremacists, right? They're not saying, "Hey, we're supreme." We're saying they have to be separate. You have to separate them, and we have to get our own nation and so on, things like that. They're not saying that white people have to be supreme over this other race. They're just saying you got to keep them separate. But if you start asking questions as to why, it's because the pure white bloodline will be tainted by the. Okay, so you believe you're supreme in some sense, and then they'll say, but we believe Asians are also superior because they have higher IQs and blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, so everything you're talking about sounds like supremacist language.
There's more to it. It's not just that. So several things that just come to mind, which I know about Nick Fuentes, who is, by the way, a new friend of SNEAKO, because they like each other's ideas a lot. And
oh my goodness, could you imagine Nick Fuentes converting to Islam?
That would be hilarious. But he's actually he has an ideology which is Christian nationalism under Catholicism, where he proposes to turn the United States into a Catholic theocracy and abolish democracy. This is Nick Fuentes' worldview, where also the races are separated, and white people themselves have a country in which they do not mix with other races. He's against race mixing entirely. He thinks that is degenerate and degrades cultures. He wants to preserve a pure white race. He thinks that Jews are behind pretty much everything wrong that is going on in the world. That Judaism should be. That we should get rid of Judaism, which he publicly said in a public speech recently, where he said because they are against Christ and against us and against all of us, and we need to get rid of it together with getting rid of democracy. He thinks that the Nazis did a lot of great things. When Kanye said with his delusions that especially Hitler was a good guy, he said that was a fantastic thing to say from him. He said that reactions, pogroms, killings, mass killings of Jews are normal, justified, natural reactions from people. He said the Nazis contributed a lot of good stuff to the world, and so on. Do you want me to count more of the stuff that Nick has ever said in public and that he stands for? Do you want me to count also the fact that he thinks you should not publicly praise the Holocaust, but just be humorous about it, because you would know very well that you can publicly not say some things which you actually think, which is why you should always bring in humor in order to mix things up and confuse the public and get away with it. These are his own words. Do you want me to count more things? I actually, when I focus on somebody, in this case, Nick Fuentes, I did the same thing with Andrew Tate. I sit down and actually study pretty much anything that I can find on this person, and then make up my opinion. I just don't say random things about that person. And in the case of Nick Fuentes, I actually went through pretty much anything of significance that he has ever said to understand his views, and to then come to the conclusion that he is actually a neo-Nazi, and he is a neo-Nazi. But yeah,
he's certainly a dirtbag. Oh no, did I just hurt the feelings of some Nick Fuentes fans? Hey, let me respond to this guy who keeps spamming the same comment. Fuzz Beatboxer says, in Christianity, when are we supposed to wash people's feet? It would be weird asking someone, hey, can I wash your feet? Yes, that would be weird now, because you do have a situation has changed since the 1st century. The principle would still apply, not the specific way of doing it. But in the 1st century, people wore sandals, right? So you wore sandals. So you walk around in sandals, you go to a dinner at someone's house. By the time you got to the person's house, even if you were clean when you were at home, by the time you got to the person's house, now your feet are dirty because you're walking around in sandals. So there would be some sort of like, you would wash you're about to sit down for dinner. And they would kind of recline at the table, right? They weren't sitting in chairs at a table. They had a low table, and they would sort of, lean to one side and stuff like that while eating, and your feet are sitting there. So it was polite to wash your feet when you got to a place, because that was the part of you that was dirty from the walk over. And so Jesus actually does the work that, some sort of servant might do. Jesus washes the feet of his disciples. He washes the dirty feet of his disciples. And he says that he's setting an example for them. And keep in mind, this is in the context of him explaining his divine nature to them. And the picture you get is God entering creation in the ultimate act of humility. And then look what he does now that he has become incarnate. Now he even washes people's feet the way a servant might do. So he's not saying, hey, everyone has to go and wash everyone else's feet. You're right. In a completely different culture like now, where people take showers and then you wear socks and shoes, and you get to a place and your feet aren't dirty, and your nasty, dirty feet aren't in people's faces while you're reclining. And so, yeah, the rule might be different. The principle is the same, in the sense that you should be doing things such that you don't exalt yourself in your own importance. You should be doing things that deliberately keep you humble. So in our context, that might be, hey, go down and work at a homeless shelter in your spare time. Go volunteer at a homeless shelter. Hand some. Matter of fact, I'll give you an example. At our church in New York, they had it set up to where any homeless person could walk into the church and get a meal and take a shower. And while the homeless person was taking a shower, someone would wash his clothes for them. So, he gets out of the shower, clean clothes, meal, and, heads back out and so on. But it would be like professors at local universities, or lawyers or doctors, who are actually like washing the clothes of the homeless person. So I think that's the principle involved here is, hey, it's not, hey, I'm this important person up here and everyone else is, inferior. They're down here. It's, hey, I need to make sure I don't think of myself as this extra special person. And so you take steps to make sure you don't do that. Why, as a Christian, you would have a problem with that? I have no clue.
Yeah. Apparently, there are some people who really like Nick Fuentes in the comment section, and
oh my goodness, the guy's a freaking douche, people, a total, complete douche.
And what also happens is when you mention Nick Fuentes, the word gets around and people start coming into your comment section and your stream to defend the guy, because he has an army that he calls groypers, who are organized to go into every circle and convince people that he's totally fine. And then, very, very insane. If you like Nick Fuentes and you agree with him, you are one of two things. You don't know about the guy. I actually do. Or you are a racist piece of dirt and you can just get out of here. I don't want you here. I don't want your support. I don't want your presence. I don't like you. I think you should go and do I think Nick Fuentes should go and do what Hitler did in the end. Yeah. Let's
take this
Jesus ate his own body?
Yeah, sort of. I mean,
Weird.
I don't know if it was like...
What type of dude is eating his body?
I mean, well, I think that's...
And he's God at the same time?
That's where the Christians and the Catholics, like the Christians say, oh, that was just a symbol. I'm sorry. The Catholics are going to roast me. I'm a bad Catholic. I don't know what to tell you. But the Catholics believe, like we actually, yeah.
Yeah, well, I grew up Catholic. I guess the hardcore, there's a lot of division there. But you know that in the Quran, they talk more about Jesus than Muhammad. Jesus is brought
That's
up
a weird
all the
segue.
time. He's not actually God.
Wait, what did he say?
They're talking about communion.
Okay.
They're talking about communion, and then he pivots to, you know, the Quran talks more about Jesus than Muhammad. It's like he's memorized. It's like he's memorized he's been told what his talking points should be when talking about it. Did you know that the Quran?
Yeah. Did you know that? Like connecting immediately to the topic that we just talked about. Do you know that Hitler talks more about Jews in his book Mein Kampf than about himself?
You see?
I mean, you know that in the Quran they talk more about Jesus than Muhammad. Jesus is brought up all the time. He's not actually God, though. That's the difference in Catholicism.
He's the Word of God.
It makes sense to me because how could you be a human?
He's the Word of God.
Catholics believe that Jesus
and the Spirit from God.
But they're the same. Like,
and he creates like God.
Like this weird. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. Some people may think that I'm. Sometimes when I say something that is, that sounds like I'm defending the idea, that I might be pandering to it or defending it when I shouldn't or whatever it is. I genuinely, I don't believe in Christianity. I'm not convinced that it is true.
Because you're dumb.
Yeah, but but for years, when I began going through the Trinity, I thought to myself, okay, in my opinion, there's nothing about this that doesn't make sense. But I still don't think that Christianity is true. And today, I still think the idea that the Trinity, or Trinity aside, the divinity of Jesus, and his status as the Son of God, none of these things are illogical. These things are not a huge problem from a logical aspect. There is no logical flaw here. There is no inconsistency. There is nothing wrong with it. I believe for different reasons that it is not true. And I for example have a problem with the whole atonement and crucifixion and resurrection aspect that is different, but not because I think it is illogical, but because I have a different approach where I do not think that it is believable to me personally. That said, I simply don't think that there is anything illogical about the nature of all of this. The only problem is that you may not understand it. The early Christians dealt with this issue at the very beginning, in the first centuries of Christianity, and had different explanations. And we talked about this just a few weeks ago when we talked about the resurrection of Jesus and his mention in the Quran and all of that. There is no logical problem here. If you have a problem with it, then you may not understand it, or you may find it personally absurd or whatever it is. But you shouldn't act like it's illogical.
Yeah. I was similar in the sense that when I was an atheist and my wife was an agnostic later on, we didn't believe that Christianity was true. We didn't believe in God. We didn't believe in this stuff. We didn't have any particular objection to God being a Trinity or God entering creation. It wasn't a problem. It was okay. Once we believe in Christianity, okay, this other stuff is part of Christianity. And so it's it's weird where in Islam, they first program you to have any sort of problem. I mean, to have a problem with any sort of mentioning of, God being plural in some sense in his nature, or God entering creation or something like that. They program you with all this stuff, and how they seem to do it is, hey, that's really confusing. Okay, there's lots of stuff that's confusing. It doesn't make it not true. Quantum mechanics is really, really confusing. You can't get your mind around. You can't get your mind around 4-dimensional space-time. So you're not getting your mind around general relativity or something. There's all kinds of things that are very, very difficult to understand. That doesn't make them not true. So what is your argument? But they're programmed to say, oh, that's really confusing. So I'm going to reject that. But that has to be tied to, we're going to keep this person from knowing about Islam. We're going to keep this person from knowing about Allah's body parts. We're going to keep this person from knowing about the eternal speech of Allah becoming incarnate as a physical book, but then also becoming incarnate as a person who appears at the judgment to testify as your intercessor. The Quran, ladies and gentlemen, the Quran appears at the judgment as a physical person to bear witness for you on how much you have read the Quran. So, I mean, if you're going to say, hey, this element of Christianity is confusing, okay, well, you've got Allah and you've got Allah's speech, which is also a personal agent. Allah's speech is also a personal agent. You also have Allah and the spirit of Allah, but the spirit of Allah speaks as Allah. They say that's the angel Gabriel. That doesn't fix the problem, because now you've got the angel Gabriel speaking as Allah and proceeding from Allah. But if you and by the way, the Quran doesn't say that is talking about the angel Gabriel. That's what Muslims eventually claimed about him. But notice you've got Allah and you've got Allah's spirit, who also appears as a person and who does the things that Allah does and who creates like Allah does and is somehow distinct from Allah. And in addition to this, you have the speech of Allah, which is also a personal agent and can appear in a physical form to people. You would look at this and say, man, if you have a problem with the doctrine of the Trinity, this should be a giant mess to you. Like, this should be the last religion on earth. If you have a problem with the Trinity because it's confusing, my goodness, in Islam, they have Allah and the spirit of Allah and the word of Allah become incarnate as a book and later as an actual person at the judgment. This should be very, very confusing to you. The solution in Islam is just, we'll pretend that it doesn't teach any of this and cover this all up for the new guys, because they're coming out of Catholicism and saying, we found Catholicism confusing, so we're going to convert to this. And so it's, yes, convert to Islam. We don't have any of that stuff. You kind of do.
That is the problem. That is the problem.
But in Islam, the reason that I converted is Allah is the one true God. That's the creator of the universe, the creator of everything. Jesus was there to spread his message. Muhammad was the prophet. And then we are all his people. We are all his creation. And that just makes the most sense to me, because, like, what's the best explanation for why the world exists? There must be a creator. But instead of like a human half body eating,
that is a little confusing.
That's why I like
what kind of dope is she to be agreing with any of this? Notice, go ahead, pause it. Notice
she doesn't know much. It's
notice the plan. So here's a Catholic who doesn't know anything about Catholicism, doesn't know how to respond to any objections, also doesn't know about Islam. This is like the dream target audience for someone like SNEAKO. I mean, if SNEAKO is sitting here educating you on Christianity and Islam, you got problems. You got problems. If SNEAKO, the guy we would regard as the absolute most clueless person in the universe to talk about these issues, if you're listening to him going, wow, that's an important point. That makes real sense. Oh my goodness, man.
That's why she became under fire when she hosted that other guy, and he said like outrageous things, and she was like, oh yeah, okay, I see what you mean. She just doesn't have much.
That's a problem, because you'll have like Lex Friedman and so on. He'll get people like Kanye on his show and stuff, but he's actually extremely intelligent and studies what he's talking about and is able to push back and will push back on people saying, hey, this is bad, and so on. And so, if you don't know what you're talking about, why would you get someone? This is like the textbook example of blind leading the blind, right? Yeah. Blind leading the blind.
Anyway, I think there's no more need to watch anything else. So we have heard everything that is here. He thinks Islam is just, it's worshiping the one guy who created everything, and Jesus was a prophet, and that just personally I like that, and I don't like pictures, and I don't like that I have to eat bread and drink wine, and I like praying 5 times a day, which, by the way, I can't really do because I don't have much time for that. want to watch just a few seconds of one thing that I just mentioned here. Okay, just a few seconds of how I remember
Guys like
open. That is minute 9, 9:52. I was going to say 9 verse 52. I got so used to referencing the Quran. But here's something funny.
What do you think the best next steps are? Obviously, like, I should be perfectly practicing. I have to follow these rules, but I still, like, admittedly, I still like drinking. I still I don't have the time to pray 5 times a day. Are you supposed to take
Wait, let him finish.
all the steps fully? Are you supposed to fully dive into it, or can you, like, what's the next move?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. So first,
That's a beautiful question.
I still like drinking, don't like praying too much, but so what do you think?
So this comes after all the stuff that happened before. Remember, in that one stream, he was saying, that there's not much praying in Christianity, and he really likes that in Islam you pray 5 times a day. And then he's here. He's like, yeah, I don't have the time to pray 5 times a day, and I'm just wondering if I really have to do that. And
yeah,
it's like a parody, man.
Yeah, guys, I like the idea of having a bunch of followers who will mindlessly support me no matter what I do. But I mean, do I still have to take this at all seriously? I mean, remotely. I mean, I've now declared that these are the commands of the creator of the universe, who says, I'm not a real Muslim unless I fully submit to everything Muhammad says. Can I kind of just dabble in this a little bit? A little dabble. Can I keep these women coming in here and chatting with me? Can I keep the pictures on my wall? Can I keep, throwing down some Jack and Coke? I really like my Jack and Coke. No, praying, not too much. Got boring real quick, just reciting the same thing over and over again. So, I mean, come on. Can I just invent this religion as I'm going along like my hero Andrew Tate does? Can I do that? Can I be pimping hoes on the side? Can I go to Andrew Tate's PhD program in pimping hoes? Can I do that and still be fine? I am popular, and for real, I mean, like, these guys, I don't know what these guys said, but I mean, they, like, part of them, the Muslim part of them, is no, you have to fully submit to Islam. But there's also, we do not want to put pressure on this guy, because if everything he says is about his personal feelings and not liking this or that, and that's how he decides his religion, you do not want to push too hard on this guy. Just like on Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate doesn't like being told what to do. And so if you push too hard on him and saying, here's what you have to do, he's going to have a problem with it. So they're stuck in this weird position of having to tiptoe around these popular guys because they don't want to lose them.
There is a thing here which I brought this up before, but people are saying that Leon said, will you play the video where Destiny's wife asks SNEAKO about Aisha and he doesn't know how to respond? I played a clip before where he was asked that, and Destiny was also there.
Hey,
I had no idea who Destiny's wife was back then when I played that clip, but I'm not sure if that's the reference, or was that in that interview that we just watched earlier.
By the way, how are you not making videos about this stuff? Because I didn't know this stuff existed. No, I don't. But, like, how are you not making, like, notice it's perfect, right? Here's SNEAKO not knowing how to respond to the Aisha issue. You inform him and then point out, hey, some of your greatest da'is support this. I mean, Muhammad Hijab says, according to the Quran, you can have sex with a 5-year-old. Ali Dawah said, as if his daughter was 9 and got her first period, he'd tell her she's ready for marriage. Daniel Hakikachu goes without saying, supports child marriage. So you got all these guys. Very easy. This is a very easy video, AP. How are you not making this?
Here's the thing. If I was everything that the Muslim apologists often say I am, I should be all over this stuff, and I should be putting out videos left and right to pick up all the steam and everything that is going on. But honestly, it's I don't know. It feels uncomfortable dealing with these things, to be honest, in separate videos.
One of you who's watching, is Wyatt still in here? Wyatt, you know your job. Guys, this is very easy. You've got seasoned YouTubers telling you how to make an easy video. Take the clip of SNEAKO, then add the sources and talk about how Muslim apologists.
I should do that. I should do that.
It's very simple. Yeah,
I just feel like I'm dealing with very,
like an hour of work. It's like an hour. It's like a total of an hour work.
Yeah,
for an epic video.
But yeah, there was a clip of him responding to somebody saying, "Okay, well, did anybody clarify that? Let me quickly see. Was that Destiny? I can't find the clip itself. I think it was as well. Okay, I think that was a random person actually on some stream where SNEAKO and Destiny were together, and that issue came up, and I didn't pick that up before we went live. I should have done that. I think that's a very funny, interesting video to have as well, to depict how exactly SNEAKO actually thinks, because he's asked about child marriage and about Muhammad, and he just initially finds it disgusting, but then just makes up something on the spot to excuse Muhammad from blame. That is funny. Very funny stuff. Let me see if I can find that here quickly. You go ahead and say something unnecessary.
Oh yeah, I'll say while AP is looking around for stuff, making a travesty of this live stream, as he does with pretty much every live stream. Yeah, we're all of this. My feelings makes me actually want to examine a video where some of these guys give some actual reasons for Islam. So tomorrow, AP on my channel, we will watch a Dawah video from some Da'is giving some hardcore facts to support Islam.
Yeah.
Who do you want? We got Fareed, we got Sajid, we got Hijab, we got Ali Dawah.
Now, here's the thing. We haven't talked about Fareed in a long time, and I think that he's actually a very good target. But most people don't care about Fareed, and I'm not sure if people are interested in seeing Fareed. So, but there is a lot there actually to go into. What do you think?
We will go through someone's case for Islam tomorrow. We will find a video where someone is presenting a case for Islam, not based on feelings, but based on arguments for Muhammad or the Quran. We're going to take a look at that tomorrow. We're going to go through it. We're going to see how different this is from Mr. SNEAKO here.
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't.
Mr. SNEAKO sounds cooler than just SNEAKO. Mr. SNEAKO.
Yeah, definitely more interesting. I couldn't find the clip, but whatever. If it comes up, I might share it on a different.
Reminds me of Mick Foley's Mr. Sacco.
So where he was asked about what do you think about child marriage, he says it's disgusting, and then didn't Muhammad marry a child? And then he says, well, not everyone is perfect. And that's his response to it. Not everyone is perfect. Now, first off, he's saying that Muhammad is not perfect. But
see, dude, that's your title. That's your title. I mean, in theory, Muslims are supposed to agree with that, because even according to the Quran, Muhammad was a sinner. Muhammad sinned. They might have a little more problem with Jesus, because Jesus is said to be sinless, as opposed to Muhammad. But I mean, just notice just that. SNEAKO admits Muhammad was not perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect title for a video.
Yeah.
SNEAKO declares.
A lot of the clips that are coming out being that disrespectful towards Muhammad is a wild thing to be talking about incessantly on Twitter.
SNEAKO, can you give me one verse from the Quran you like?
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead.
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. Don't talk to me.
Oh my goodness, that's Aiden in the middle. I had no clue who Aiden was, except for Andrew Tate. That's the dude who, you ever seen that where he sniffs his chair?
No.
You didn't see that? It's the most gross. I mean, I've seen a lot of messed up stuff in my life, ladies and gentlemen. You see a lot of messed up stuff happen in prison, but one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen was that they've got a camera filming them, and Andrew Tate's sitting on a chair. And then Andrew Tate gets up, I don't know what for, go to the bathroom or something like this. And this dude, Aiden, runs over and smells the chair where he was sitting. He smells the chair where Andrew Tate was sitting. And as creepy as, I mean, my goodness, man. It's like, it would be one thing, it would be bad enough, but it would be one thing if, like, Jennifer Lopez was sitting in the chair and you got up, and then some creepy dude ran over there and smelled the chair or something like that, right? That would be one thing. When it's a dude, when it's Andrew Tate and it's his balls were just right there on the chair. You're actually running over trying to smell his balls. You're trying to smell his ball sweat residue. That's this dude, and he's another one of the new champions of Islam. Wow, these guys are.
Are you kidding me, man?
No, hey, look, you find it there? What'd you look at? Oh, yeah.
I have work to do.
Look at the season of 10.
I fixed you.
Where you going? I'm ready, bro. I'm really gonna do this shit. Y'all don't understand, bro. I'm really gonna do this shit, bro. Like, I think it's time, bro. It's time. I needed this. I needed to come here for a reason. I was thinking to myself, I was like, why am I in a hotel room all day, every day?
What in the world is this?
You see that?
What?
He's trying to sniff Andrew Tate's balls. Like, this is a dude like Andrew Tate better not leave a pair of underwear laying around in his room, because this dude's gonna run and start sniffing on it, man. Dude's a super sniffer.
And I just want to say, bro, I think I'm ready.
And I mean, he did that on camera. You wonder, like, is he like this normally? Like, if you're over, like, does he do this with other guys? Like, try to sniff their ball sweat when they get up and leave?
Oh man, what
this is? Oh my goodness, man!
Wow, wow. I had no idea about this.
These are the champions of Dawa, man. These are the new face of Dawa. You got SNEAKO.
Oh boy, what?
Aiden the chair sniffer.
What is? Oh, I don't
even
know how to react to this.
We've got the we've got the sex trafficker, Andrew Tate. We've got his crotch sniffer here, Aiden Ross, and then SNEAKO. Yes, I know a Quran verse, but I won't mention it.
Oh look here, this is the show that he this is the show that he goes on. Look at this thumbnail here.
Powerful.
This is where this is where SNEAKO is. So
and we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to Fresh Air Podcast.
All of these women, and only the women are on the thumbnail, all very modestly dressed, and he is there on this thing, and that was just like 2 days ago. Yeah. So I don't think that he is very much in the spirit of of Islam and all that.
As long as he's popular, as long as he's got a following, he's good.
Yeah, and I don't want to come out and say, hey, you know, how could you do this? You're supposed to act like a perfect, like I don't want to judge somebody about their inconsistency with this, but these are some basic things.
Yeah. No, the point here is not the point in all of this is not SNEAKO, right?
Yeah.
It's okay. We're obviously dealing with a person who is completely clueless about everything he's talking about. That's not the point. You have completely clueless atheists, you have completely clueless Christians, you have completely clueless Republicans, you have completely clueless Democrats. You can always point to someone who has no clue what they're talking about. As far as the takeaway that I'm interested in is like these double standards, that if this were a female convert to Islam, they would be all over her. They would be all over her right now, telling her to get in line, telling her what she has to do, constantly harassing her to put her in check. But since it's a guy, it's do whatever you want, be as haram as possible. No, we don't care what you do, but just keep telling your fans that Islam is true, and you're good. You get a free pass.
That's funny. Okay, we should wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Because SNEAKO.
Let me answer.
Yo, is he fake? Yo. Can I answer? Destiny, in general, your group, your people, like like the blue hair, blue fingernails, like the he, him, or whatever on Twitter, the they, them. You guys always will basically call me homophobic, but why?
Because it's not about an ideology. It's about bringing down the essence of masculinity. They don't actually believe in this stuff. They just think they're taught and brainwashed to think that alpha male toxic masculinity is a bad thing.
Okay, this wasn't part of the whole Islam thing at all, but I have to say one thing. You may have views on these issues about LGBTQ and masculinity, but believing that people don't actually believe in these values and they're just promoting these things because they are against the whole masculinity and all that, it's just an insane way of approaching anything in life, any problem in life, with a weird conspiracy theory take. It's insane.
I have noticed the hypocrisy and inconsistency even on this issue, right? Like, you've got people like Daniel Hakikachu, basically arguing that Christians are too soft and Christians need to be more aggressive and more violent in dealing with problems, right? And what he really means is he really means there is Christians need to be more aggressive and violent in dealing with things that Hakikachu is concerned about, right? He doesn't want us being more aggressive towards Islam. Like, that's the problem, right? If I'm going to say, okay, I'm a Christian, Christians are too soft, I'm going to be more aggressive. Okay, well, you guys freak out when we deal with Islam that way. In other words, there's a point here. What these guys are talking about. Notice these guys are complaining. Men aren't masculine enough. Men aren't masculine enough, and you know, in what they're doing. What happened when hijab started a campaign to harass people's wives? We shut that crap down, right? We stepped up, we shut that down, and they stopped it, right? Now, they didn't like the direction we went with it because we're like eating Qurans and ripping up Qurans, and no, you're gonna cut this crap out right now. And they did. But then they go and whine like babies. Oh, look at them eating our book. Well, yeah, notice. We're being aggressive there, right? We're eating your book, ripping up your book, putting our lives on the line because you guys say you'll kill us over this stuff. We do it anyway. What are we doing? We're saying, hey, you're not treating women like this, not while we're around. Yeah. We are the protectors. You are the abusers. You guys are making it your goal to abuse women. We are standing up to protect them, and we are putting our lives on the line to do it. And what do? They all run around. Oh, look at the intolerance. Look at the intolerance. They act like little babies. But wait a minute. I thought we're supposed to be men. I thought we're supposed to be masculine and stand up for women, right?
Yeah.
And then when we do, you cry like babies. This is a weird situation.
Then you build a whole lifestyle and ideology around impressing each other as the tough boys who really have a problem with women and the way things are.
Yeah. So anyway, all you guys out there, SNEAKOs and so on, who want men to step up and be men, be more masculine, guys. When men, Christians, atheists, Jews, whoever, when we step up and say, hey, we are not going to allow you to treat women like you do in your religion with the wife beating and the taking little girls as your brides and so on. Guys, don't cry to us like babies when men stand up for women by blasting your fake prophet, right? In other words, if I were to say, hey, what are the major problems? And if I'm a man, I'm a nice, strong man. What problems am I going to deal with to protect women? Islam's pretty high up on that list, bucko. So don't complain when we come after your religion. You're telling us to be strong men, right?
Yeah. It's very funny is mentioned how Muslims would immediately go after a woman if she did similar things as SNEAKO when he when they come out in favor of Islam. I just saw in my feed how there was this woman who was speaking in favor of Islam at NRJ and all of that, and as soon as she had one take about how she doesn't really want to wear a hijab and she doesn't really believe in it and all that, they started blasting her like crazy. But I just found what I actually talked about earlier, so I want to put that on the screen here very quickly, and then we are done. This is funny.
Do you think Islam is the most red-pilled religion?
A lot of people that I respect ended up finding Islam, so I think that there's something to that.
Is Andrew Tate?
Yeah, he's a Muslim.
He's a Muslim.
Yeah.
Are you against grooming?
Yeah, that's gross.
How do you feel about the fact that Muhammad married a 9-year-old girl?
Listen, that was just his hustle.
I don't know how true that is.
But I don't think any Muslims deny it.
If that's true, then he's not. Then nobody's perfect.
If your wife cheats or disobeys you in some ways, the Quran does order Muslim men to their wives. Do you think that's okay?
I mean, if it works for them.
When you say if it works for them, you're indifferent if some men cheat their wives.
I mean, it worked for a long time. That's going to get you in jail now. So I'm not going to advocate anybody to do that.
It's interesting in that this woman here obviously knew more about Islam than he did, right?
I know, right? That's very, very ironic, very funny.
It's also interesting that we seem to be getting to a point where some of this stuff is common knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's good.
That is it. This thing could deserve its own video. Yeah, very well. So first off, Muhammad wasn't perfect because he married a child, but then also the whole thing about beating wives. Well, if it works, then it works. But obviously, I'm not telling you to do it now because you could go to jail. But if it works for them, then
if you're in a place where you're not going to go to jail, or if you can make your wife keep her mouth shut, then Islam's a religion for you.
Yeah, just beat her. What's the problem? Okay. With that said, warm Hamza about Islam. I don't know what that means. I don't know.
We got a warm. Which part of warm Hamza? Don't you understand? You got a Hamza's cold.
Yeah, so warm Hamza. I don't know whom we are supposed to warm, but thank you, YP. But seriously, I don't know what this is.
Plus the question mark. Plus it's a question mark.
Yeah.
It's warm Hamza about Islam.
Is it like, is Hamza warm about Islam? I don't know. One way apologetics said, I'm guessing SNEAKO 172 Houris. That's probably likely. And
if he knows about that, yeah.
He probably doesn't. Yeah. Nick Silent Animator super chat and didn't say anything. I appreciate it. Jason said, hello, AP and David. I wondered if you guys are going to do a stream with Sam Shamoon one day. And my second question is, what do you guys think about the MacArthur Study Bible?
He's referring to the MacArthur Study Bible.
Yeah. Okay. First question, I might do one with him and one day in the future. I'm not sure. Second question, MacArthur Bible. What do you think?
Well, yeah, you don't know anything about the MacArthur Study Bible.
No,
I've only looked up like certain passages in the MacArthur Study Bible. I mean, MacArthur is he's been doing this a long time. Yeah, normally I have some other go-to study Bibles, so yeah, I would ask that to someone who uses that regularly.
And that answers the question. Stefan Milevich said sexual tension between extreme LGBT left and Islamic authoritarian right. Somebody should make Facebook page about it. I'm serious. I appreciate your input here. Satan's little helper said, I'm going to get 50 Quran. I'm going to use them not in good ways. Don't worry, I'm financially good and I have no words of people hunting me down. Go ahead. Grace said, I think there's a non-zero chance the head he would talk to you if you reached out in good faith. Could be worth a shot. If you're talking about SNEAKO, I tried. I didn't get a response yet, but I just tried through a more familiar channel through some mutual contacts. If I get a response and he actually wants to talk, I would appreciate that. If not, then
yeah, I would say it's a close to zero chance because if it was announced that you'd be live with SNEAKO, everyone's going to tell him not to do that, right? They're going to say, hey, you don't actually know anything. Stop it. So, hey, we're happy using you as an example. Hey, this guy converted to Islam. He's our new hero. But no, we don't want you actually sharing your reasons because you'd get demolished.
Yeah, okay. Then I don't want to tell anybody that I'm getting in touch with SNEAKO, and I will delete this part from the stream. Graze said, as long as you don't ask him his favorite Quran verse. Oh, that's in reference to the video we just watched from the very beginning. That's nice. I hope SNEAKO doesn't believe Islam. Bukhari 30:17. He probably doesn't know about any of this. I really wonder what he would say if you or I or anybody said, hey, did you know that in Islam, apostates are supposed to be executed? Do you know that Muhammad said to kill apostates? What do you think about that? I really wonder if the response will be something very dumb and shallow, like we just heard in that conversation between him and the woman about wife beating and child marriage.
Yeah, well, no one's perfect. So Muhammad ordered his followers to execute apostates because he's not perfect.
Yeah, nobody's perfect. Boom to room. Thanos stealing.
That stands for boom room.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now I get it. Thanos stealing the Kaaba Blackstone.
Oh, that would be funny. And taking the Infinity Gauntlet and taking the Black Stone and
yeah.
Then he gets power to molest half the little girls in the universe.
Yeah, I haven't watched a single one of those movies because I don't do that. But yeah, cool for those who like it. Because I'm an adult, I don't watch kids movies. And Yeah. Nine Strike said, "Sense, let him explain the moon splitting." Well, yeah. House of Hikmah said, "David sounds really old when he says back in the day. He sounds ready for the nursing home." You say that a lot.
This comment's from Wyatt, who's like 12.
But yeah, you say that a lot. I noticed. You say back in my day.
That was back in the day, man. I'm almost 50, man. What in the world?
All praise and glory to our Lord Savior Jesus Christ. God bless you both for exposing this false religion. Thank you.
You see?
You see? Yeah.
You see now?
Yeah. Goldie said, "Just supporting the channel. Thank you for the work with you." Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it very, very much. As I said, will SNEAKO kiss the black stone of pedophilia? He might do in the future. I don't know. We will probably see soon a photo of him going to the Hajj and beginning to practice Islam entirely and disavow all the bad practices that he has been engaged in so far. I'm sure it will happen very soon as Andrew Tate stops all of.
Can you imagine Tate going out there with Aiden, and Aiden's like, Andrew, could you rub your sack on the black stone so I can sniff it and kiss it? It's like, my goodness, what is this religion? You guys are complaining about communion, and
I'll be like, Andrew, can you go first and do that? So I want to go after you, but don't ask me why.
Yeah. Hey, when we're bowing down, can I be behind you, Andrew? Real close, like these guys are. This is gross stuff, man.
Oh boy! As I said, AP, maybe Allah can send the talking ants to SNEAKO. Oh yeah, we had a debate yesterday where the talking ants in the Quran came up as a Quran miracle.
It's I didn't see that, but based on the things I've heard so far, it sounds like this guy's using arguments from like 2002.
It was
like I recall seeing these as arguments back in the day, the talking ants and so on, which we use as a problem. Wait, the Quran talks about Solomon listening to these ants talk and so on, and like as far as seeing Muslims use that as an argument, that was a thing back in the day, that ants have a form of communication. How could Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala know that ants communicate?
So it is so stupid. We have stories, fables, mythical stories. We have a lot of things from millennia where animals talk to each other. Are we supposed to use those stories and say, well, you see, those were definitely divinely inspired, because how could they know that these animals also talk and they also communicate? So this guy actually did bring up that whole passage. He said the Quran shows how ants talk to each other, and we have discovered today that ants actually communicate with each other. And I was like, I thought, I didn't expect this at all to actually come up as a serious argument nowadays. I said the Quran depicts ants speaking words to each other and saying, oh, Solomon is coming, so go into hiding and this and that. Is that really what's happening? Or are ants just communicating in different ways instead of talking to each other? And he was like, well, so you are confirming that ants are communicating, you see? That's what he basically did in response to that. And that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. Powerful. Times have not changed very much. The White Trash Panda said you can't spell Muhammad without Moham. You see, miracle.
Yes, you can, because you can spell it with a U.
It's true. It's true. That we move ham. Yeah. To all the in the opening of the presentation, that was that was really so cool. Gotta go by. Thank you, St. Mats, for always dropping by and leaving something here. And for more in the future. Yeah. Death Culture said Jess and Andrew Tate clone both take much of their red pill talking points from the manosphere and Mugutao, which is men going their own way. Scammers, not to be vulgar, AP, but he is a cuckold, as SNEAKO talked about his girl getting ran through at parties on YouTube. That is actually true. A common thing of mockery right now among people who don't like SNEAKO and who like to call out his irony is that he said that he watched his girlfriend get in sexual interactions at a party. And yeah.
Who? SNEAKO?
Yes, SNEAKO.
What's wrong with these guys, man?
I don't know. And people keep posting this meme of him sitting on a chair in the corner of a room while somebody else is doing it with his wife, with his girlfriend. That Culture said, shout out to the Undead Chronic Hammerhand Migtown podcast and the Warband. I think all sounds very problematic, but I'm not sure what this is about, but I hope it's not bad. Leon said, will you play the video where Destiny's wife asks SNEAKO about Aisha and he doesn't know? Oh, yeah, I did that. Thank you. You actually reminded me of that. Didn't Hitler say the same thing about Christians being too soft while praising Islam? Not sure how credible the table talks are, though. This is correct. This is actually very funny. It's a very ironic. The same thing that Andrew Tate and SNEAKO find wrong with Christianity and right with Islam was also brought by Hitler to us, according to the writings of Albert Speer, his Nazi, who in his memories about Hitler wrote that Hitler didn't like Christianity. And he said, why did it have to be Christianity with its meekness and flabbiness instead of Islam, which glorifies war and the hero and all that? So Hitler had the whole idea that Christians are soft and Muslims are tough, and I wish Germans were Muslims. So you see something there, don't you? Basic said it's hard to imagine 7th century Muslims sniffing the spot where Momo sat. Homeboy not really boots with his wife.
Not really when you
between
not really when you read all the other stuff they were doing.
Yeah. SNEAKO set up his friend against Islamists. SNEAKO set up his friend against Islamists. I don't know. Grace said, don't beat your wife, it's illegal.
Notice it's they'd have to say the same thing about like child marriage, right?
Yeah.
Like that was Daniel saying, hey, I'm not encouraging people to break the law, follow the law, but nothing wrong with child marriage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the only problem with wife beating and child marriage, you know, according to these guys, is that it's illegal and you don't want to go to jail.
Yeah. I'm not saying you should do it because it's against the law, but and XXWLZXX said, where's the hikmah?
Where's the hikmah?
Where's the hikmah? Brothers and sisters, do you have a list of damning hadiths and surahs? I do actually have such a list somewhere, but I need to dig it up.
No, I've thought about that in the past, like just going through all the Bukhari and categorizing all that. I mean, Bukhari's are already arranged topically, so you can actually go to specific topics and so on. But it might be cool to have like a complete list of everything, especially like lists of the most important ones. Like, okay, guys, we understand Sahih al-Bukhari's 9 volumes. Here are the 20 hadiths that you definitely need to get down.
Going through all of Bugatti. Great Grand Imperial Ankap said these guys would be good picking for the Islamic State. They're going to recruit all these clueless schmucks. Islamic State is pretty much dead, I think, nowadays. But yeah. WLZXX said, why do all these converts have weird sex beliefs? There's so much to unpack.
It is weird though, with Tate, and then Aiden and sniffing Tate's crotch and so on, and then SNEAKO with his girls and so on. It's like you guys are all messed up.
Yeah, and Andrew Tate having all the there is a lot to unpack here. A lot about insecurities and their desire to dominate the women and stuff like that, which with SNEAKO is a little bit ironic in his case, actually. But yeah, it's kind of messed up, man. I don't know. Are you going to revive the debate with Hussein AP?
Probably meant review.
Oh yeah. I don't really do debate reviews very much, except if it's a very, very important one. And that one I think wasn't very important. It was just, I will post it on my own channel. I will upload it and post it. But I don't think there's much to review. It was just basically me reiterating everything that's wrong in science and the Quran, and him confirming everything and making it even worse. And yeah, that was good on its own. Loki said, my opinion in his angel Jibril was Satan. So the same thing is thought by many others who are unfortunately very wrong. Leon said, "Young Don, you interviewed him when I asked you to look into SNEAKO a while ago. Kind of sidetracked the initial SNEAKO video you were going to make." Oh yeah, that's true. When SNEAKO disrespected Islam and Muslims were outraged, that's when that guy Young Don said some very, very harsh things about Islam and connected with me and said that he watched a bunch of my videos and David's videos and he really liked what we said about Islam and he learned a lot and now he hates Islam even more. You didn't say anything about that, right? I even told you about that a year ago when it happened. The guy tweeted. He was one of those streamers.
I have no recollection of that.
He was one of those streamers, one of those he's a friend of SNEAKO and all the others. He was a big streamer. He is a big streamer and he converted to Christianity from atheism. And
he'll be our new poster boy then. Oh wow, a streamer converted. Let's run him around the world and have him do interviews all over the place.
And he did this thing. He said that he doesn't like Islam because of all the terrible stuff that is in Islam. And these Muslims attacked him. The 3 Muslims and others attacked him. And unlike SNEAKO, he didn't backtrack. What he did was to sit down and look into Islam. And he made a tweet where he said, I spent a whole day watching David Wood and Apostate Prophet videos. And now I hate Islam even more or something like that.
I spent 24 hours watching AP and D Wood videos. Then this happened. That's your title right there.
Yeah. Anyway, that's that. And AP, you should start uploading videos again. I should.
Good point.
I should. Good point. Never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks everybody. Is there anything else that you want to add since you are not here on this channel very often, David?
Yeah, just again, tomorrow we will look at some actual arguments and not some random streamer and some other streamer sniffing a dude's crotch like we watch over here on AP's channel.
We will actually have things of value over there on David's channel tomorrow where you can join us for another live stream. Until then, we will be back. And follow review shows at AP. If you were not an atheist, what would you be? I would be whatever I would be if I wasn't an atheist. Probably. So I hope that answers the question.
Hey.
What?
If AP wasn't an atheist, what would he be? Smarter. Classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. I would probably be a Muslim because Islam just makes sense to me because Islam is all about, like, I like Islam because there are no pictures in Islam and it's all about just worshiping
I don't like
one guy.
I don't like pictures.
And everybody needs community, and there's a lot of stuff right now in society, and Islam has a lot of solutions, and I just personally I like that, and that's why Islam,
and I really like cubes. And I've fantasized about kissing a rock my entire life, and then there's this whole religion that's all about kissing that rock. So I'm like, this is the religion for me.
Wow, that's very profound, man. That's amazing. MashaAllah, that's very profound. We will share this and show this as proof that all the smart people are converting to Islam. You see? Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a fantastic day and night. And we will be here tomorrow on David's channel. And I'll see you again tomorrow. And until then, have a good day. And as always, David.
Stay away from Islam.
Yeah, you heard that.
Unless it makes sense to you.
Yeah, or if you like it, if you don't like pictures.
Stay away from Islam.
And with